stuff. So that says a lot. That says volumes. Which, ironically, is a little bit of what we're going to talk about.
Cool. Oh man, I got my seat wet.
Plus, is there a better spot than to have an office meeting?
And then there's also Chardonnay and white. Beautiful.
There's so many of these little, like, hole-in-the-wall, like, kind of, I shouldn't say it like that, like so many of these nice wineries that you just don't even know about. They're, like, hidden, tucked away, yeah.
Have you ever had a vineyard?
And they have, like, there's cult-like following for each of them, right? So you'll come here some days, you'll be like, there's nobody here. And then you come here at a different time, and that cult-like following's here, and there's 100 people there. So they'll do events, and they'll do some music.
It's so different at each winery.
So here's the thing. I didn't say this in the chat because part of what I do is, as you guys know, is ask for like faith, right? So I don't want to give people outs. I want to see commitment. I want to see how, like Blanca has a lot going on, but she shows up. Priorities. I want to help you outline those priorities and see what's the most priority to you. Like, and a lot of us, like a lot of you guys have jobs and you're still trying to find a way to make it work. And that effort, with that effort, in real estate, anything else is possible, right? So that's the first step. So what we're going to do with this is Hector, by the way, everybody, this is Hector.
Hi, Hector.
Hector and I, we started out a podcast, I don't know, it was a while now, a year or two ago. Did a couple episodes, and Hector, you said it got some pretty good traction out of the gates. And then I stopped. He's helped a guy get pretty famous, actually, in podcast world. Maybe more than one now. So what I'm going to do with this is we're going to get some footage from that camera, and that's going to be able to be edited and used for training other people that aren't here. So they're going to be able to see, not on Zoom, they're going to see it professionally done. So it'll be way better than Zoom. But I didn't want to say that to everybody. See, because half of it is you're not going to get the same. And if you default based on stress or based on timing or based on priorities, I want to reward people. I want to see what they're willing to overcome, right? You know, that's part of building an elite team is like, can we count on each other? There are times when you can't make it. There are times when work calls. There are times when family calls. But is it like, oh, well, you know, blah, blah. I need to go to the baby shower, blah, 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 right? Like, that's why I was using those examples of on deployment, having a baby, or like crab fishing in the Bering Sea. The captain's not going to turn the boat around, right? Like, sorry, you had a bar mitzvah to get to this. Your nephew, sorry. Should have thought of that before you were a crab fisherman. Now we're off the coast of Russia. So until the crab season's over, we're not going home. There's no helicopters coming to get you.
Does anybody need Excedrin? I'm running to the car to get it for Nicole, so if anybody else needs it. Okay.
Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
And the other thing I'd like to do on this day is I want to get your, I need to tap your knowledge. So I'm pretty sure I know what I think. I'm trying to help you. So I need to know what you think about these topics that we get into. So I need you to be vocal and vulnerable and honest so we can collectively become stronger. Because if you have a question or you have a question, that probably means somebody else has the same question. And if y'all look at me like deer in headlights because you're afraid I'm going to go, "Arr," which I never do. I never have done. Plus, it's just the reality is we all learn differently and we all come from different backgrounds. So it's important that we trust in each other, that we can all learn from each other. Because here's the good news. I know all the players in the Lake Chelan Valley. I know a lot of the players in North Central Washington in the real estate business. And it is my opinion that the Ascendi 7, I just made that, it sounds like, you know, a Western movie, so I like it. I'm not sure if it is 7 or not.
Because there's only 7 of us. I think there's a little more.
It might be more, but maybe 7 by the time we're done.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm looking for. I'm recruiting everybody. Because this is the first of many, many exciting things that we're about to do in the development and building and sales and marketing and property management. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. I believe that everybody on the Ascendi team has everything that it takes to achieve whatever level of success they want to. And I think together, if you trust each other and you have this abundant mindset that is so rare these days, and you have each other's backs, you're going to take it all. Whatever we want to take, we can go take. I'm talking market share, right? So it doesn't matter that we're new. It doesn't matter, because I'm pretty sure I'm not new. And I know the players. And there's no real teams left. That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of great individuals. I wouldn't say a lot. There's some individuals that are doing great, and they're going to keep getting their fair share. But we're going to go get our unfair share. But we do it as a team. And one of the ways you can imagine doing that, if you had to go up on a listing appointment against a person, you showed up with 6 or 7 people, and you go, well, when you hire one of us, you hire all of us. And that's like, holy crap, really? That's kind of unusual. It is unusual. We're the only team that does that in the entire Lake Chelan Valley.
Actually, we were just talking about that yesterday.
And the seller's like, whoa, holy crap. That speaks volumes. First of all, you all got together and came over to my place. That's more people than have previewed my place with the other person in the last year. You know what I mean? So part of that to me is just, you guys got to believe that this is all possible. And what I've seen the last 45 days, I wouldn't have said it 45 days ago, but I believe it now because I've watched you, and I've watched you work together, and I've watched you try to learn from my gibberish and try to speak, Egyptian hieroglyphics or whatever. Yeah. The Russisms. Yeah, so who do we got left? Nicole? Is that everybody that said they were going to come?
Brooke, Fritz, and Bella are going to be a little bit late because they had an appointment, but they're going to be here, is what he said.
Yeah. There's a saying, you can have anything you want in life. You just can't have everything you want in life. And the reason I keep saying, what do you want? Because that's an individual question. Like, what do you want out of your career, out of your life? There's a lot of people that want stability and security only. They're willing to give up a lot of freedom for a paid by the hour position, paid for time. I know if I do X hour, I get X dollars. Usually that means you're giving up freedom and you have a cap. There's a ceiling on what's going to happen in your life. You could probably, for the next 30 years, if I stay here, I know right where I'm going to be. There's nothing wrong with the people that's what they want. I know you have a full-time job, you have a full-time job, you've had a full-time job in the military. I mean, it's
I
like,
have a full-time job.
yeah.
His name's Russ.
Well, and I just keep adding it, more jobs to her plate. Like this morning, one of the things I'm going to get into, and don't let me forget while we're kind of on it, this morning was her first meeting with GCH. GCH is the #1 resort architect planner in the state. We've hired them now on 3 projects. And so this was her first meeting to interact with our investment team, our engineers, and our architects. What'd you think, since we're on the topic?
It was a lot. It was a lot, and I'm really excited to get going on it. Like, it was a lot that made the puzzle pieces kind of start to fit. Other than just hearing, like, you or Luke talk about it, it was like, finally, I could see a picture of it, which was really cool for me.
Yeah.
And even when it came to, like, the Chelan project, like, seeing how they were going to put everything and the details that was going into it was, like, it was really neat. It was really cool. Made me very excited to...
Yeah, he's done like hundreds he's one of the best. He's done hundreds and hundreds. They're in Ballard, I think. And he looked at our Okanagan land, and he's just like a kid in a candy store. He's like, oh my God, this is a very special place. The way it naturally lays out, it's like it got hit by asteroids. And they're just we're gonna build these beautiful lakes. We have this vision of 100 lakes. We build 100 lakes, 1,000 acres. It's not gonna be that. It's gonna be more like 8, but it sounds good. And that gets people, that gets me going. Like, these things that nobody else thinks about, we have this idea that, for a lot of reasons, we can build oases in the desert. And it's kind of a Field of Dreams mentality. If you ever watch Kevin Costner's movie, Field of Dreams, you build it, they will come. We also are going one step further, and that is every project we have will have a component of I call it a hybrid, where we have a for-profit division and a non-profit division. So essentially the goal is to create money to help support communities where we can create a vision where the haves and the have-nots can live cohesively together in a self-sustaining economy, not an extraction-based capitalistic economy. Meaning we're not going to make the money, go buy a yacht and say, see you later. We want to create the sustainable economy for essential worker housing. So that's people that make between 50% of the median income up to about 150% of the median income, what a lot of people call the missing middle. Nobody has ever come up with a full plan that I'm aware of anywhere other than government subsidies, which is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about essential workers, teachers, cops, nurses, you, every non-mutants, not the guy making 300 grand a year at 25 from home with Starlink, not that guy, but the hospitality workers, all the normal humans that have normal jobs that are being priced out of beautiful areas like this one right here. So we have a 900-acre mountain called the Butte Mountain in Chelan. We have 1,000 acres in Okanagan, just out of town on Highway 20. We have 37 5-acre lots in McNeil Canyon, and we have about 30 lots coming in 25 Mile Creek State Park above the lake. And we're working on some very fun additions to these things, and that's just the 4 that we start with, which I've been working on for, I've been working on it for over 2 decades.
So this is of the Okanagan, and the little dots are potential sites for cabins, and then the blue is the lakes.
And those are lakes are already there or going to be there?
So it's naturally kind of built for it. It's crazy. Like the landscape
The
is like,
mound stuff.
yeah,
But we have to build the lakes,
yeah, we have to build the lakes, but it's like naturally.
And we have to get water rights, and we have to, there's a million things we got to do. And this is why it's taken literally 20 years to get to this point. It's a long game. Real estate development's a long game. But I've been like a just tenacious pit bull on a pork chop. Like I never go away. I'm just kind of always biting at your ankles.
It's like a little chihuahua in a melon.
Yeah, and I've gone through multiple ownership groups. Not that I've been an owner, but I've brokered multiple deals on these properties, and I've just always hung around. Then I finally got in a position to start putting some money together and start taking them down one by one. So all 4 of our first 4 projects started 20 years ago or longer. Like one of them, it took 17 years to get water rights transferred. So these are some wild, long games that I've been playing. That you guys and the team that we put together, not only can we sell everything else and have all the connections that I want to pass down from my tenure, so to speak, or 30 plus years, but then we'll have our own inventory. And we'll have our own vacation rentals that produce tourism, which turn into buyers. So we'll have a machine all built in that a team of people work cohesively together to achieve the common goal. So when we're talking about Yacindy, this is just the first game. Now it's a very important game, because if we lose this game, we have to recover from it. It'd be a big loss. And this morning, as the old saying goes, no pressure, no diamonds. I'm under a lot of pressure. The developer's under a lot of pressure from the lender.
It's go time.
So we played a first half of a football game. I played football in a small school, but it was by far like the favorite sport I ever played. B8 football, which means there's only 8 people, not 11. And I loved it, and I was good at it. And for that size league, those size players. But there's nothing like B8 football ever. You can't play that again. That's over, except selling real estate. It's a lot like sports. It's a lot like combat sports. It's a lot like life. So this first half matters because we have to play the first half in order to get into the second half. But now that we've all made it to the second half, now it's when it really starts to count. Now when the plays really start to count. So what you have to do at halftime, good quarterbacks, good coaches make adjustments. That's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to figure out, okay, if 45 days ago I started talking to you about a bunch of stuff we're going to talk about, you'd be looking at me like, okay, I have no experience working a waterfront condo in my life. I don't know what a Wapato Point is, so on and so forth. Well, now you know. Now you have some ideas. So as we get into it, what I'm hoping to achieve is, at that project, there's about 6 to 8 objections that I think are fairly consistent, and I want to help you with the words that, if spoken in the right order, the right words in the right order will equal success. At least the probabilities of success is better. the wrong words in the wrong order, the probabilities of success are low. That's because this is not about buying oxygen. They don't need it to live. This is a luxury item, not a necessity. They don't need food. This isn't food. This isn't transportation. This is a luxury item in a luxury tourist town. So this is what I call emotionally driven. So in other words, my motivation is emotional. I don't need it. It's like, you know, a second car. I mean, it's cute. I got a sports car, 1969, you know, Mustang. I love it, but it's not needed. But it's also analytically supported. So what that means to me is, hence they're on the lot, they want to buy something. They're talking to you. So from that moment, they're emotional. They're there in front of you. They are engaged for whatever reason. And not just them, but you got to always in the back of your mind, who else do they know? Who else can they go in with? So that has to be part of this frame. As somebody's walking to you, you frame it. Now you know if you put the right words in the right order, the probabilities are going to go up. So you have to learn what those right words in the right order are. And that takes practice. So we've had 45 days of practicing, like raw materials. Here's the basics. Now what I'm going to do is listen to you and role play with you and with each other. And then start determining, okay, if you remember, one of the 4 rules is be yourself, right? Be yourself, know your product, do it today, not tomorrow, and be honest. That's all you got to do, sell a lot of real estate, right? Well, you can't do it like I do it because you're not me. But you can learn how to use the basic subject matter and the basic words to start heading off at the pass in your way. So you start channeling the buyer's intention. You start answering questions before they're asked. Because you have an agenda that you're going to get out to these buyers. So they'll be like, I was just thinking about that. Because here's what buyers won't do when they're emotionally driven. They won't go, God, I love this so much. I can't wait to write you a check for $1.5 million. This is amazing. I can't wait. Where do I write the check? If you have $1.5 million, you probably don't act like that. They're like, oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like that poker hand, right? Like poker face. They're not going to just come out and go, oh, yeah, hell yeah, where do I sign? No, that's when you're buying bread at the store. Like, where do I check out? Or if you're me and Lakeview Bacon Burger at Lakeview Drive, and that's a lot like that. Those girls get an order take in there. We don't get an order take. Now, right there is a nugget. The vast majority of salespeople are order takers. I want to know, think about the last 10 years. Why do you think, you just got to trust me on this, before 10 years ago, like long before COVID, people weren't order takers in real estate. They were salespeople. Why do you think there are more order takers now than salespeople?
Now, because COVID made it easy.
What about COVID?
As soon as you put something on the market, it sold itself. You didn't have to do anything.
But what was different about it back then?
The products were easier to buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interest rates.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve was loaning money to banks at 0%. So they're printing money in Washington, D.C. on the printing press and giving it to the big banks for free. That's never happened in the history of the United States. So all of a sudden you got 2.8% 30-year fixed mortgages. That's like saying, relative to any other time in history, over 60% off. Now think about what else happened in 2008. Prices were here, prices were here. So you add those two graphs coming together where COVID hits, they drive down. Well, the market hasn't recovered quite from 2008. So there was this perfect storm of lower prices already, then you cut them in half. So hell yeah, I'll take that now. And so brokers became, yeah, I'm sorry, you don't even get an inspection on this one. If you want to get this house, it's all cash, no contingencies, close in 7 days, or just keep walking. And that was literally all listing agents had to do for about 2 years. But this run up was about a 10-year run of pretty easy pickings.
Oh, man.
And so all of a sudden you go 10 years and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I am all that in a bag of chips. Just ask me, I'm a legend in my own mind. I mean, just ask me. Look at what I've done. So I'd be like, yeah, was that you that, like, your uncle gave you the listing and someone else sold it. So what exactly about you that makes you all that in a bag of chips? Because you could say to me, my networking skills. Okay, fair enough. You were a good listing agent because you knew, you were very social. You knew a lot of people. You went to church. You went to the pub, or both. You know, you developed relationships. You're very, very social. So a lot of people liked you. So you got a lot of listings. Other agents sold them. That's why you want to be a listing agent, right? Okay, well, that's true. Now the listings are harder to get. And they're not just selling. Now a listing back to 10 years or before is an expense. It's an investment. Cindy, I've written, I don't know, $15,000 worth of checks on Cindy in 45 days. You know, it's part of the investment. Like, I'm gambling with that money. That's an expense. If I get a listing, they want photography, you know, all of a sudden it's not just put the sign in the yard and be cool, take 3%. Guess what else has happened? The commission thing. $780 million settlement. I was with a guy last night, Microsoft retiree, and he goes, I got to tell you, from my perspective, brokers don't do shit. And I'm tired of paying them 5%, to be honest with you.
Used car salesman.
Yeah, or I'd even take that. How about no salespeople at all? Like, they're order takers. They're not even used car salesmen. They get a bad rap. At least they're out there hustling you, trying to sell you a used Buick. Like, at least they're trying hard. They're selling shit that's hard to sell. We're just sitting there like, what's up? I'm cool. I told you, I'm a legend in my own mind. So, are you going to write a check to me or what? That's the average salesperson right now. So, that's the good news, because that doesn't work. It's not working. I can see the numbers.
Yeah.
Everywhere in the United States. Keller Williams just shows me the numbers. I mean, it's not working. And it takes a big, courageous individual to go, excuse me, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I've been in the business for 10 years. But guess what? There's countless businesses that haven't made it because they didn't adjust. You know, technology is a good example of that. Things change all the time. Atari was a hell of a video game when I was a kid. And Pong before that. Yeah, Frogger. Yeah, hell yeah. Pizza parlor, Frogger. I got kicked out of Donkey Kong, or out of, what was it called? Yesterday's Pizza, because I could go in there and play Donkey Kong for 5 hours on one quarter. They're like, you're costing us too much money, kid. You don't get to come back. I memorized all the little patterns. Well, video games have evolved, to say the least, right? What hasn't? Oh, salespeople. So what usually has to happen is a bunch of people have to go broke, and the people that are left standing learn how to adapt. And that's why the 5%, or the Pareto principle, is 20% of the people do 80% of the work. That's alive and well in every industry, everywhere. But in real estate right now, I'd say it's 5% are doing 95%. And then that's going to get, I don't know that for sure, but I'm just by watching, and I can see a lot of people my age aging out, like they're just tired. They want to go travel. They want to go to Scottsdale in the winter, you know, whatever.
Well, they rode the wave from COVID, so
Yeah. And if you're wealthy and you can do that, great.
you don't want to climb back uphill.
Yeah, it's hard, you know. Now I know what my dad said by climbing uphill both ways in the winter, 3 feet of snow to go to school. Naked, probably. 20 below zero. Like, every time he talked to me about growing up, his life was harder than the time before he told me about it. When I was a little kid, I was like, how do you go uphill both ways? That was very confusing for a while. But the point is, life is hard. Life goes through good times and not so good times. And it's not really what happens to you that defines you, in my opinion, as an individual. It really is what you do next. That is more accurately going to define who you are. Okay, so the good news is you want things to be turbulent if you're a professional. If you're average, you want things to be easy, because that's the only way you're going to survive. Now, the hard part is, to be a professional means what? What does it mean to be a professional in this business?
Lots of sacrifices. Lots of time. Dedication.
Wear a lot of hats. Be knowledgeable about all those things.
Know what your weaknesses are.
Yeah, all of the above, right? That's why it's hard. It's not a one-button answer. And everybody's life is different. So I could tell you what it is for me, what it means to me. But that may not mean the same for you or to you or to you. And I draw from a different place and time than you. Different life experiences, different ages. There's not any good or bad answer. We all come from a place. We all found our way here. So it doesn't really matter why we got here or how we got here. It just matters that we're here. And then you have to believe in each other. That's the hard part. Because you have to first start to believe in yourself before you can believe in anybody else. That's the real hard part. Especially if you've been beat down. And then you get like guys like me, like, got it? Yeah, right on, you dick. You son of a bitch.
Hey, this is important. Look at me. I'm like, sorry.
But see, I know I have to say that. It's true, because I verbally process. I've told you guys this before, but I'll get home and my wife would be like, is Desiree gone this week? So I'm like, because she doesn't like to hear it so much. Stresses her out. Because what I'm doing is I'm laying down the worst case scenarios. And then she can't fix it. And she's like, what is happening? We're losing our house. We're losing our cars. No, I'm just thinking about worst case scenario. So she says, because Desiree has a husband who's one of my best friends, lifelong friend. And he does the same thing. There's people that verbally process their brain. So as I'm talking a lot to her, to Des, to you guys, I'm trying to solve problems by working through the problems. And right now why I called this meeting is because as we start the second half of this very important game to launch a very big company, and I don't say big in numbers, but big in volume. I don't think we're going to be big in numbers. I think it's going to be, like I had 6 or 7 guys doing 50, 60 million a year every year, and they're all making 200 plus. So this is not something I have not done. I've done this before. And one would argue that I wasn't as smart at 21 as I am now. I thought I was very smart at 21. So one could argue my confidence level is not quite what it is now, like it was then.
Thank God you're smarter now.
Ignorance is bliss when you're 21. There is nothing you cannot do.
Thanks for raising. Which side do I sit on?
Either one.
This is my friend.
Right there.
How are you?
Good.
Nicole, this is Hector.
Hey, Hector. Nice to meet you too. Thanks, Mama.
So you missed the preamble.
Great.
So
Love it.
you're fired.
Can you repeat it?
Every day of my life.
Fired because I'm selling your crap. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's our crap. We're selling our crap. Okay, so what I'd like to do, now that Nicole, the superstar of the show, is here, she's fashionably late.
She was working.
I know.
Yeah, you want me to leave? I can leave right now. if you want.
Okay.
Nothing off. You just said you were the superstar.
Yeah, right.
Why would you leave?
I can't win for losing.
Superstars leave. What are you talking about?
Cuss the people, they leave. I compliment them, they leave.
Autographs and leave.
All right.
Oh God, why? Because you're a superstar.
Huh.
I warned you.
No.
There was no warning.
I tried as much as you would.
Okay. You're getting mic'd up. He can edit it.
Yeah, put that in your pocket if you stand up. Yeah, thank you.
Just actually blooper it and then send it to me.
The whole thing's like beep 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 beep. These guys are a bunch of sailors.
I have a dance you can play too, right before she walks in. Yeah. I'll send it to you. You know,
Long story. Don't
the
worry about it.
dance.
Don't worry about that.
Okay. So, the right words in the right order. Is that fair to say that that's true? And it's again not a guarantee. It's about probabilities. It's like understanding the gambling in what you're gambling on. If you have more out there on the roulette table, you probably have a better chance of winning than less out there. The probabilities are up. So, but you have to believe this. If you don't believe that, then everything we're talking about doesn't work. But try to imagine if somebody's emotionally driven. Okay, tell me, I'm going to go over this over and over again. Emotionally driven, what does that mean to you guys? If a buyer is emotionally driven.
Means they make choices on their emotions.
Yeah, they're gonna fall in love with something
something first, which is then their brain's going to rationalize why they should do it with statistics and facts and all the other stuff.
Yep. So emotionally driven, and that's what you were just talking about, is analytically supported. So they're not stupid, they're not suckers, or they wouldn't have 1.5 million to buy a condo with, right? They wouldn't have got that, most likely wouldn't have got there. There are, you go to YouTube and go, billionaires gone bankrupt. There are some people that make some wild decisions when they get a lot of money. Okay, so what's the opposite of that? Give me an investment that's the opposite of that in real estate.
Nothing.
Yeah, or if you're analytically driven and emotionally supported. So what would that be? Give me an example of a boring real estate investment. That's really a good way to put it. Huh? Yeah, real estate. There's exactly, real estate investment trust. 1,000 people chip in 500 grand and you go build apartment buildings in Pullman and you rent them out to college kids. I like Pullman, but I'm only doing it for that 8.9% annualized return on my investment. It's a safe investment because kids need a place to live while they're going to school. And I've got another 1,000 people that are in on it with me. So I have a fund, but it's pretty impersonal. Like, they often don't even tell you where they're investing it. You just give them their money and somebody manages your money, a REIT manager, fund manager, and that's boring. That's like buying a stock. It just happens to be stock that's investing in real estate instead of widgets. So when we're selling a waterfront condo on Lake Chelan, when they're talking to you, they're already saying, I'm emotionally jacked up because I'm here. But they're not going to just write you a check. How much do you need? They're going to want to see this. This comes in more than one fashion. One way is numbers. ROI, appreciation rate, liquidity premium. These are all finance numbers, like net present value, future value, all these things in finance, which is all kind of boring. I have a finance degree. It's very boring. The second thing that they're looking for is like logic. How many of these condos are there? Like what's the basic, what dictates price? The basic formula. The basic formula in anything in economics is the law of supply and demand, which is a rule. And it's usually the supply side. The vast majority of the time, it's the supply side of the economic curve, which is when you look at the difference between, one donut, 100 cops. What's the donut worth? Versus 100 donuts and one cop. What's the donut worth? So when you have condos, it can be logically supported or analytically supported with graphs, stats. Again, all boring shit. But when you add it together, and you start talking to them and they're like, and we'll get into this with Nikki. When you get them emotionally, and they start reflecting. When I was a kid, when I started coming here, and you guys could give me many examples I'm sure that you've heard. That's the emotional side. That's their memory. And because it's a positive memory, and they've been coming here a long time, they start to daydream like, well, I could see I've been coming here a long time. I might as well have my own place, get to use it when I want to use it. And if it can pay for itself, rent it out when I don't, I need some numbers. So what we're going to do is provide some numbers. I've ordered an appraisal. The appraisal is going to consist of more than just recent sales approach. It's going to consist of an income approach, which is going to be directly a derivative of other vacation rental units. What they're renting for, how long they rent for, what the absorption rate is, meaning what's the vacancy factor in the winter versus summer, in the fall versus spring. Then you put that all in a big, pretty graph, and then you put that in your pretty packet. And it's all legitimate. The thing about this, why I love this investment, is because it's so low of supply. So when you talk about words in the right order, you need to learn, okay, who am I talking to? And some of the basic principles of sales. People are like themselves. So you mirror and match, which is be a chameleon. Doesn't mean you're not integrity-based. Doesn't mean you're not honest. Because remember, one of the rules, you got to be honest every time. Be yourself. Do it today, not tomorrow. Know your product. Those are the other three. But you have to start to talk to them at whatever place they're at. What am I missing? Oh, the cat.
They might have to be separated.
It's making biscuits on Justin.
Nice. Keep them over there. I'm allergic.
Same.
So part of this is like, if there's a graph, right? And this is where you want to be. This is where you want to end up. How do we get them there? Right? So what things do we have to figure out in order for this to happen? Like, how do we get to here? How do we get to here? This could be words. This could be numbers. But through these, this is the conversation. Right? There's a place that's called the closing. Always be closing. So when you start, always be closing means from the moment that I make eye contact with you, I'm trying to date you. I just use that as because that's everybody knows what that feels like. Like, I'm trying to sell you something. You may not want to buy it, but I definitely want to sell it to you. By the time I'm done talking to you, I think you're going to want to buy it because I think it's in your best interest. Because I believe in it. I'm not lying to you. Then wherever I'm at, wherever I find you on this curve, in this example, that's where I take over from. And then depending on, like, if you're like, I'm sold, shit, I just need to take it to the wife. You got any numbers? I'm in. Man, she went and bought a goddamn Ferrari last week, for God's sakes. Didn't ask me, but I'm going to be a nice guy. I'm going to ask her. It's cheaper to keep her.
That's an actual thing, though.
She's a divorce attorney paralegal. It's true. It's cheaper to keep her. And it's also cheaper to get along than to argue, right? These litigators are expensive. I love it when you got a $50,000 net worth and you both pay $200,000 to your divorce lawyer. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's emotionally driven with no analytical support at all. That's a great example of divorce court is emotionally driven most of the time with no respect to the analytics. It's about the principle of the thing, son.
That's right.
There's right way and wrong way. Run from that statement, by the way. If anybody says it's about the principle, go, oh, I'm sick. I got to go. I'm going to have to give you a different agent. That's red alert, red alert. So how do we get somebody on that graph to get there? Well, we can predict. It's called predictable analytics. We can predict their questions, especially now that we've had 45 days to talk about it. So let's talk about the objections, because what we're talking about really is objection handling.
Yeah, you can turn it your papers.
Oh boy.
Who wants to fire away at some of these objections?
The least land part.
Okay, let's throw them up there and then we'll take them one at a time. What else?
Reliability of lease line versus Chelan County.
Okay. And objections and questions are kind of the same thing.
People always are asking, like, why can't I purchase that one even if it's not done, or I don't know how to put that into
Like bid on the reservation? Like bid instead of do a reservation?
Yeah, they don't, a lot of people don't like the reservation agreement, so they think it's, why do I have to make a reservation agreement for each unit? Why can't I use the same reservation agreement if somebody doesn't want it? I can move down to the next position type of thing, not have to pay a bunch of money to get a bunch of reservation agreements.
Fair question. That's a good question.
I like it. Yeah.
What else, Justin? What do you got?
I had one the other day that caught me off guard. It was our grandfather's 90 years old, and his wife recently passed away, and he's got a lot of memories in their old unit. And so their thinking is they're going to wait till he passes away before they start looking for a new one.
So why not wait? Is that the objection is, why shouldn't I just wait?
Yeah. That would-
Why buy today versus tomorrow?
Yeah.
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 Timing. Okay, that's a good one.
Scarcity. Yeah, I would do that versus scarcity would be a good one.
What's that?
I would put scarcity with that. I think those would all go hand in hand,
Yep.
depending on how you word it, how you spin it.
Yep. The one I'm dealing with today,
Yeah, that's a big one.
because
Financing.
yep, financing is a big one.
Financing a big one? I haven't had financing be as big of an issue yet. But price,
We're finding that it's a little bit of an issue for people that have reservations already. Have you read Sid's emails?
Yeah, it's gonna get there. It gets there like when you want to execute. You know, it's just a little premature right now. But as soon as you say, all right, purchase sale agreement, do you need a financing contingency? Well, what kind of financing? What kind of, you know, like, I don't have cash. I don't want to write a check. And leverage is very, you know, we'll get into it. But leverage is very important for a lot of reasons. Leverage meaning borrowing money. Okay. I don't think the quality. Have you guys had any issues with quality? I haven't had anybody.
stairs.
Yeah, the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah, and they fixed them in the next units.
We know that.
Yeah.
They're still walking up these,
Yeah, that's done.
and they just
Just sell them. They're
it's
popular
a thing. It's
in
a
Europe.
thing for people.
They are
No, it is.
popular in Europe.
You know, we should just make a joke out of it. Because people that have come to the East India always complain about the spiral staircase. Be like, you know what? We just wanted to modernize the spiral staircase.
You know what I say?
Keep the trend going.
I was like, you know, my kids when they were little, they were like brats. And so I had to make a game out of everything to get them to go along with it because they probably wanted to stay with their friends. They wanted to play video games. They didn't want to do anything. And so that's not really true for my kids, but I would say it like it was so I didn't make them feel bad. Because now kids are like that.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to do anything. They're going to put their head in, you know, their Oculus headset on and call it even. So I said, I would just take the bed, if I lived here, and my kids are daredevils, I'd put a mattress up against the wall and have them dive into it. And they used to say with a super straight face. And they're like, are you crazy? Like, that would kill my kid. Like, we got to toughen these kids up, don't you think?
With the stair one, I mean, I guess whatever your question was, the like product, I would just put product because that adjacent goes with you just have some questions about, well, could I make the island bigger? Could I change the color of the countertop? What about a storage shed or adjacent? So
Yeah, we'll get into it.
that
Yep.
would be like a product one. That's just
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, just in general, just remember that we have 150, I mean 15.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And if you built your condo, you could probably build it your way. You know, there's a certain time, like you're not going to defend it. Like you're going to say, oh, okay, well, it's not for you. I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound like it's a good fit for you. And believe it or not, that takeaway close, like, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I got so many other people I could talk to. Good. I'm glad I had a chance to meet you. They're like, whoa, I didn't say I wasn't going to buy it. You know, like, oh, wow, maybe I misunderstood. And then I re-engage. You know, part of this is, remember, they need this. And this means positioning. You know, like in car racing, pole position. Like, what do we do in car racing? We draft. So when you're negotiating, one person's drafting behind the other person. You guys know what that means? No?
Are we talking about like NASCAR?
Yeah.
No, you're talking to mostly girls.
Have you
I
seen
kind of
cars?
was.
Haven't you seen cars?
So the cool people get it in the class. Just saying. No, it means when you're behind a car racing, there's less wind resistance. So right before you're kind of conserving energy, they're hitting the headwind. You're drafting behind them. Right at the end, right before you get to the finish line, you because you've conserved your energy. So this is positioning in the conversation. I'm going to allow you to lead the conversation to where you want it to go because I'm going to help you get to where I know you want to be. I'm not going to, notice I didn't say I'm going to sell you some shit that you don't need. Sounds very similar, but it's not.
Sorry.
There are people like the timeshares that they bought. That's one of that vehicle is no longer a vehicle that is alive. That is a dead animal. The whole design of it worked when it worked, just like Blockbuster had a VHS and some popcorn. It doesn't work anymore. We have Netflix and Amazon Prime. Sorry, Blockbuster, you're out of business. So these are all good. What else?
I've experienced a lot of people are obviously coming from places that they already have there. So they're like, well, I already have a place. You know, they're okay with being comfortable where they're at because it takes less effort.
We just haven't found it yet. I don't stick my head in the butt.
So
They got a pinpoint. You just need to.
so I'll get there, but just remind me when somebody says something that is insanely not logical. You know, like I have a tricycle, therefore I don't need a car.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say right then I'll interrupt you. So right when you say, because I know it's coming. I've studied it. I know you're going to say it. I know you're a timeshare owner, and you're going to say, start saying to me what you're going to say.
I don't know what I'm going to say.
Say it to me what you're going to say. What do they say when you?
I have a tricycle. I don't need a car.
You have a full share. You own a full share condo?
Full share condo.
You own a Ponderosa?
I've got a tricycle on a tricycle budget.
Yeah. If you have a tricycle budget, then I hear you. Do you have any friends that have money? Let me show you how to use their money to get what you want. You ever formed an LLC? Let me help you with that. Let me show you how a cash flowing asset with you and your brothers and sisters can all retire potentially, because what do you think it's going to be in 5 years? Going to analytics. Transitioning, right? So I'm going to take whatever objection you have and I'm going to bank you back into where I want you to go. So when you start saying, I already own something and I know you own a timeshare, I'm like, whoa, I'll interrupt you before you say the word timeshare. Because I'm going to go, whoa, you already own a house at Wapato Point or a full share condo like Ponderosa? No, I own a timeshare. You see, what I just did is make you feel a little bit embarrassed for trying to compare a timeshare to a $1.5 million condo that you own 100% of. And you can come and go anytime you want. And you can rent it out, and instead of you paying somebody else's mortgage, they pay your mortgage. So you go from a renter to an owner, because you're renting as a timeshare owner. That's why they're giving them away. That's a dead vehicle. You're a renter. You have a draining asset. It takes dues, and you have deferred maintenance that is so big that the entire industry is collapsing. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's how Yosemite got to be Yosemite, essentially. That and a lot of creativity and a lot of negotiation. But the bottom line is those buildings got real old, and nobody wanted to pay any money into it because they wanted those dues really low. And 50 years later, oh, what happens when the roof leaks?
Right.
You know? So if you're trying to compare apples to oranges, I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to be like, nope, world's not flat. Sorry. We talk about the solar system real quick. So is that rude?
No, I don't think so. I
And-
mean, I think it depends on
Yeah.
how you say it,
Yeah.
your tone.
Yeah, 100%. Everything is that. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to be a jerk. You don't want to be insultive. You don't want to be belittling. And you have to do it in your own way, too. Like, you can't necessarily do it exactly my way. But if you start to see the scenarios in which you bring these words into the equation and how you bank them back towards where you want them to be, which is selling them something you deserve they want to have, or they should deserve to have it because they're good people. And this is one of those investments. How many times you've heard me say, maybe you haven't heard me say on the radio ads and stuff, but I'll say, here's the bottom line. And I'll get into this supply and demand stuff. Give me something that you can invest in that has a very, very high probability of not being duplicated with money alone. You know what that means to me when I say that? Bueller.
What?
We don't know the word you're looking for.
What's the question?
I was quoting Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So
No, I
anybody
also
watch that
never
movie?
watched that
Make
movie.
up 10 words.
Oh man,
Oh my.
I didn't know we had a
gosh.
communist here. Okay, it's fine.
It's fine. I'm communist.
Oh my word.
Just kidding. We have to have a movie night. Just get everybody on the
Yeah,
same.
we do.
So my analogies and
Yeah.
my examples
That's a good one, too.
make sense.
That's a good one.
It's a great movie. What was I even talking about?
wanted a word.
You wanted a word. Or
Something.
Phrase he said it.
Oh, I got it. I was like, look, if money alone can't duplicate something, because what I'm afraid of is I buy the one house. Man, it's a beautiful house on top of a mountain. And then I come to find out that D.R. Horton has 1,000 houses they're developing right below me.
Yeah.
That agent sold me that I was the only house. Well, you were until next year. And then 1,000 come on the market. So that means money alone could build it. But if I could say that Jeff Bezos can't build it, if he decided, Jeff Bezos woke up today and he goes, you know what, I want to build a peninsula into Lake Chelan. I'm going to bring about 1 million dump trucks because I'm the richest man in the world. And I'm going to take that mountain right there and I'm going to dump it in that lake right there. And I'm going to create my own Wapato Point. And I'm going to build my own Yosemite condos. What are the odds of that in Washington State?
0.
Except the fingers.
Huh?
No,
The fingers.
Yeah, 1950.
won't be made again.
Yeah, that was in a lawsuit for years and years. Went to the Supreme Court, I think. Went pretty high up. In fact, the lower court ruled that they had to rip the fingers out, which quite fascinating. And then we sell them for 2.1 million, 1.4 million, 1.45 million for 3 lots this last year. Now, an investor said, is that a good deal? I said, well, I think it's 2.1 million. If you build 1.5 million and you sell it for 6, it's 2 million profit, a good deal? Because I think that's what they'll be worth. Because nobody else has those 3 fingers. How about Sunset Marina boat slips? You can go just build a deep water marina tomorrow?
Nope.
Nope. How about Wapato Point? Nope. So, is this going to be the investment? If we could agree that I'm looking for something that money alone can't duplicate, and I have demand that increases at an increasing rate over time. So is it fair to say when there was one winery, there was less knowledge about this place versus the 50 wineries or whatever we have now? Because they're all marketing. And so what are they marketing? I call it an awareness campaign. Because when you're selling sunshine and crystal blue glacier-fed waters with 8,000-foot mountain peaks that's 1,500 feet deep and 55 miles long and crystal clear, like it's not exactly like selling East LA or South Central. It's not Compton.
No.
So Compton real estate agents, I bet, are skilled. And skilled at with
Protecting
yeah,
I'm sure they have a
different skill sets. You know, they have to have certain clientele that have the money. Yeah. So we're selling sunshine. So, okay, is there going to be a demand? Is there a very finite amount of real estate? That's why we get into this, you know, we're getting off track a little bit, but this is a very important word. Words, 2 words. Supply constraints. What are they? We'll get into that. Right? Because that talks about this. I'm not making this shit up. 88% of land's owned by the government in Chelan County. Because I will set people up too. I'll be like, man, look at all this real estate that can be developed. Look at all these mountains. Just kidding. Only 12%. And do you think it's easy to build on that slope right there, that vertical slope? So let's take that percentage out. So I've actually done this. I've said, okay, we're going to start with a big pie. That's Chelan County. Here's how this works. Boop. Can't build there. That's 88%.
Yeah.
How about that vertical slope? Nope, can't build on a vertical slope. How about this thing called the Growth Management Act? You ever heard of it? Yeah, it basically tells everybody what they can't do. So that's called zoning. Right there. What else is there? Oh, infrastructure. Most people like flush toilets. They like water. They like power. Infrastructure. Oh, wait a minute. There's already some land already built on. Okay, well, we're down to about 4%.
Yeah.
Okay. 3.5 million in 2007, 4.8 million in 2024. What are those numbers
Population.
in Puget Sound? There's 4.8 million people that live 3 hours away in the rain, the traffic, the fentanyl, the homelessness. Taxation. Why do you think so many people lived in the city?
Convenience.
Because they make more money there.
They made more money there.
But now
But now,
they don't.
what has
Because they
changed?
can travel and work from home.
Yep.
And they basically made their home a pig pen, and
Yep.
they want to go elsewhere.
You know what I say? You know, there's species of people that go extinct, like animals go extinct. And then do you know there's also animals that they discover every year that they didn't know they had? The affordable housing is extinct here. Almost extinct. I shouldn't say it's extinct. We have a shot at saving it. But we had developed a new species, and that's that buyer you're talking about. Because for the last 30 years of my career, I sold to 3 people: retirees, second homeowners, and pure investors. Guess who I'm selling to now?
Seattle.
Younger people with families,
Yeah.
because they can work from home. This little man named Elon Musk, or Tony Stark, however you want to call him, invented Starlink and dropped, I don't know, 50 million satellites in the air, because there's Starlink everywhere now. How does a guy do that? Oh, he's a defense contractor. Forgot about that. That's another side note. But now you can sit right here in the middle of this little unincorporated area of the world called Manson, Washington, and get, if you didn't have this internet, you could get internet with Starlink. You just have to buy it for whatever it is, $300, $200, 600. And now it's like portable, and you can put it in your car. And, yeah.
That'd be an investment.
We can work from anywhere.
So I'm going to get back to like more structure, but I'm just like, in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, who doesn't buy these condos? It's just this. If you have the financial capability, let me show you something. Burp, burp, burp. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to jump around for another 15 minutes, and then we're going to get structured.
That sounds like you planned past your 7-minute rule, though.
I know, it's horrible. Don't tell my wife.
Don't point it out.
That's it. Once you understand these 4 things about the person, and you use this through questions and statements. The statements, because first you have to get to this point, because you may not be like this. We all grew up differently. You might have to edit this part out, Hector, just so you know. There's 2 rules in business if you want to stay in it over the long term. Number 1, double, triple check everything. And number 2, people don't know shit. You cannot go in with a confidence that people know anything. They obviously do. But if you think they do, you're going to make an assumption. If you make an assumption, you're going to probably assume incorrectly. So the questions become, how do I gauge what you really know and what you're pretending to know? Because we all have these things, especially men, called egos. We're knuckle draggers. Basically knuckle draggers. So, it's true, right? And if that's sexist, you guys can sue Katrina.
We'll get them from his pocket. It's fine.
No, I have a lot of LLCs. I'll just fold that bitch. Okay, buyer motivations, buyer expectation, buyer urgency, and buyer financial capabilities. Once you grade these, and in your mind, you're grading these. So like you can do it fast. And what I do is like in my mind now, because I've been doing it a long time, doesn't really matter. 1 being like iceberg cold, 4 being supersonic hot. So if I can get everybody here, if I line these up, these are the people I work with daily. These are my hot buyers. If I'm in a relationship with you, which is what I'm doing, I'm speed dating at Yosemite. I'm speed dating. And I'm going to be in a relationship with you, and we're getting along. Things are good. I'm going to be in your pocket. Like, I'm going to be the godfather of your children by the time this is over. Like, that's how much we're going to talk. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to make you feel like you've never felt before, and I'm going to make you happy, and I'm going to meet your family, and I'm going to get to know you like we're getting married next week. Because I'm going to sell you something that you deserve to have because you're a good person, and I'm integrity-based, and I believe in this product. If you don't have that, like, competitive like, I'm going to get this done mindset, it doesn't work. That's an order taker. So part of this is like, this is the strategic side. And these are the things that, okay, so if I say confidence, what do you think I mean? Why would you need, what kind of confidence do you need?
Do you mean for the agent or
For you as a person?
Like why the person needs confidence.
Mm-hmm. Like why a salesperson?
Comfortable that you know what you're selling them?
trust?
Yeah.
Yeah, the more confident you are, the more believable you are.
The essence of you.
Yeah.
They can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and if you don't know what you're talking about, that's why we're here today, to get more familiar with the talking points so you have a more of a historical foundation of what, and a more real life, like what are we selling? And why are we selling it? And why is it worth $1.5 million? Why isn't it worth $1 million? Why isn't it worth 800? Why is it worth $1.5 million? Okay, well, if you don't have this confidence, you think you're going to be able to sell somebody? You're not order takers. That's where people are losing the game. They're like, I was a salesman when the rates were 2.8. Now I'm not. No, you weren't a salesman. You were an order taker.
Yeah.
And now you're being asked to be a salesperson and you're resisting it. So it goes back to those 4 things, right? No products. And when I say no product, not just Yacindy, you have to know everything. When I say, okay, be yourself, well, what if you're uncomfortable in your own skin? I don't know what to tell you. Get some fucking counseling. I mean it. Like, get your shit together. If you want to play in this game, you better be yourself and you better like yourself. So do what it takes. Like, we all have baggage. Figure it out. Raise your hand. Ask me to help you. I'll get somebody to help you. I brought Fletcher in last time. He helped me. He helped my son. You know, that's mindset coaching. People like that better than therapy. That word, mindset coaching, is better than therapy. But it's all therapy. And it's all mindset coaching. It's one and the same. Whatever your demons are, if you don't want to be yourself, you're going to struggle because it's very difficult to fake. Authenticity is the glue to everything that you say. Right? So be yourself. Honesty. Just be honest. This one should be pretty easy. But what happens is when you're not confident and somebody asks you a question and you don't know the product, then you make shit up. And when you make shit up, you're no longer being yourself because you're actually a pretty good person. But you got stressed out and you got caught off guard and the guy's working you. And he's asshole. He's kind of cocky and he's like, oh, no, you know, saying all this stuff you don't understand. So, because you didn't study the product.
But even if you don't know an answer, you can still come across confident. That's just like a mindset shift.
Yes.
You have to like stay within.
100%. Yeah, you can still be a confident person, not know the answer.
Yeah.
They're not linked. But what happens is when people don't know how to be confident in general, they don't know how to be themselves. They're trying to be somebody else. They're trying to say it like I'd say it. I heard Russ say it 10 times. Why can't I say it like Russ said it? Then they become dishonest because they're faking it. And they're not trying to do it in a negative way, but it's not going to work. You're going to lose the sale. All right. And then the last one is a sense of urgency, or do it today, not tomorrow. I'm getting to where this one is morphing in my world because I've had these since 1989. These 2 things since 1989 have been with me. This is the first person I ever met, which ironically was Tony Robbins. When he was very young, in 1989, he worked for Help You Sell Real Estate, the franchise, and I bought Help You Sell Real Estate franchise in 1991. But I worked for Help You Sell Wenatchee in 1989, Help You Sell Yakima in 1990, and then I bought Help You Sell Spokane Valley in 1991. And he was their spokesperson, and he developed a sales strategy for this, and that's where this came from. And it's very basic, but inside of it, can become as complex as you want it to be, and as sophisticated as you want it to be. But this one is morphing into understanding your own priorities. or do it today, not tomorrow. That's another way to say it. Like, I asked Katrina, I can't remember who had an inspection the other day, but I was like, how many inspections do you think I've attended?
0.
None.
Not recently.
Not in a long time. I can count them on one hand in my whole career. Because here's why. Here's the logic behind it. What am I going to do there?
Waste time.
The law says I need to open the door because I have a fiduciary obligation to protect the house from an outside invader, i.e. the inspector, who, by the way, has a license and bond, so it's kind of a weird law. But I just need a licensed agent there. There's a myth that everybody needs you. They need your standard. They don't need me. They might ask for me at Frontline, but I give them Nicole because she has my standard, because I can trust that she's not going to let them down.
Yeah.
It's ego that says, you got to have me. Now, hey, the guys that do that make a lot of freaking money. If that's all they do is focus on sales, they make a lot of money in this business. A lot of money. But it's kind of boring, in my opinion. So priorities. So if you say I have an inspector, well, you've already made the sale. Are you going to influence the inspector? Are you going to try to talk him out of something? That's liability up to, you know what? What are you doing there? If you're there, you're assuming liability. You have to have a bodyguard there to make sure nobody screws up the house. But other than that, you're just getting in the way of a professional that has a license and bond. Same at a closing. You know how many closings I've been to? A handful. Why would I go? I've already done the work. So I can give him a cookie? I don't get it. I mean, so I can give him some flowers? I'm just not into it. It doesn't make any sense. I did give away Cutco knives for a long time. Had my brand on it. Had my phone number on it. They used it because it was a good knife. But all the other bullshit, it's stupid. It's a waste of money. And if you're there and you're in the room when you make the signing, now you're held accountable legally to everything the escrow company did.
Yeah.
Because you were, in theory, their fiduciary agent, so you are now you're proofreading all those documents.
Yeah.
There's like 5 million pages. No, thank you. I'm not an escrow officer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a builder. I'm not an inspector. I'm a real estate person that sells real estate. And I already sold it to you. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate you. Doesn't mean we're not going to go get beers. Go bowling next week. Whatever. But there's so many other ways that I can use my priorities for the right shit.
Yeah.
So if there's a training like this and you have an inspection, that's a bad idea. It's that simple. You have to stop doing what you're doing unless you want to get the same results you've been getting. So it's simple as that. That's what I mean by what are you going to sacrifice? Because what you've done so far has resulted in this. I can't give you a whole encyclopedia of stuff to do and you don't change your priorities. You have to first decide, yes, I'm going to be a blank slate. Yes, I'm going to change my priorities. Here's my absolute have-tos. I got to pay the rent. So here's my have-to. But here's the other part. That's why you two have full-time jobs and you're here. Right? Says a lot. That's desire. I commend everybody that does that. Cindy is damn near chewing her leg off to get out of work probably right now. That's how bad she wants to be here. That girl's all in. See that desire, it's actually not the being here that matters. That's why I got Hector here. But I'm not going to give people a hall pass because I'm trying to teach you that you can be more than that. You can become more than you are, but not without changing what you do. Not who you are, but changing how you do your life. And you know what? You know what this is so many of these things, once the light bulb goes on, guys, you know what that is? That's where growth goes to die. That's a fact. So, all of this is the same stuff we've gone over before, just differently. Part of what I do is say the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over differently. At least I try to say it differently. Try to come at it from a different angle. Because every one of you has a different way of learning. And one day, the example that I use, or you're going to go, got it. And it'll stick. And then you'll never forget it. Remember when Fletcher said when he was learning his lines in the play, he would say them really super fast and then really super slow. I never knew they did that. I was always wondering, like, how do you memorize lines that fast? So it's a psychological embedding, cementing stuff in your head. So by saying things differently, your knowledge base is graduating. And then one day it's like, oh, I was too immature or too premature for this to stick. I heard him say it like 10 times, but now, it's in there forever. It's found its home. And you can never get rid of it, because once you know it, you can't unknow it. Like deep down, you'll start to see a pattern where this becomes much simpler because your habits are already built into you. Right now, your habits aren't built into you yet. You're still trying to use your past life to become a multi-million-dollar successful real estate broker. This is great that you have a past life, but you have to let a lot of it go. In time, you have to let it go. You have to relearn. Because I could be myself, but if that means that I want to go to Buddy's Tavern and drink a case every night, because I want to be myself, I like that. Be yourself. I like drinking beer. It's fun. Okay, well, that's a habit that maybe I should lose if I want to like make $1 million. All right? So we do have to have some reasonable questions about what is it that I want, because I can have anything I want in life. And I'm guaranteeing you right now, every one of you can have anything you want in life. Anything. It's America. We're lucky. We're blessed. You're smart. You're driven. You can't have everything you want. It's very simple. You got to give shit up. You got to start making tough decisions, and you got to stop letting people make decisions for you. My seller wants me to be at the inspection. Well, the seller wouldn't have wanted you to be at the inspection if you said, congratulations, I sold your house. I'm not going to be at the inspection. Here's what I do to get me in a position to sell your house like I just did, is I go to trainings. And I don't do stuff like that doesn't have a good reason for me to be there. You get what I'm saying? That's how I sold your house. That's getting in front of the request or the objection. If I don't, like I'll say this, I'll write a deal, I'll sign the paperwork. Brookie Cookie, sign the deal. The line is dotted preferably. Thank you, dear. Here's the thing. Tonight about 2 in the morning, you're going to wake up in a cold sweat. You're going to be shaking. You're going to have anxiety attacks. You're going to start to throw up probably. Maybe dry heaves in your mouth. It's going to be ugly. Your spouse probably going to go, wah! If you're married. If you're not married, your cat's going to be looking at you like, what's happening to her? That's normal. Just know that's going to happen. That's called buyer's remorse. It sets in every time. So I want you to know that it's going to happen so you're very prepared for it, so you don't call me at 8 a.m. and cancel this deal that you know you deserve. If I don't set that up, you're going to call me at 8 a.m. and you're going to back out of this deal. If I don't say, guess what, we just had an inspection. He's over there right now. I'm in training. I don't go to inspections. I told you that earlier. Here's the thing. You're going to get a book. It's going to be like a Encyclopedia Britannica if you're my age. Everybody knows what that is. If you're not, it's like 27,000 podcasts. So here's what it's going to say. This house sucks. And it's in shitty state, and you should never buy it. That's what it's going to say, in a nutshell. You know what we're really looking for, though? The big ticket items. You know, that $50,000 foundation that needs repaired, or that new roof that needs put on next month. That's what we're looking for. Guess what? It happens on brand new $1 million houses too. It's just the way it is. So don't get all wigged out when you see this crazy report that has a bunch of shit on it that I'll walk you through, and we'll get the bids. So, but if you don't say anything and they get the Encyclopedia Britannica and tells you all the reasons why for 1 million pages you shouldn't buy this house, I've never seen so many houses flip over inspection lately. It's because we're not talking to people about them. They don't know shit. Rule number 2. You can't expect them to know that when they get a book that's normal, because it reads like it's the worst house in the history of the world. But if they knew that a brand new one is going to, for $4 million, is going to also read the same way, but differently. All houses have that, right? So then you're just softening, you're targeting and you're softening the approach. Okay? Okay, so that was 1 hour and 15 minutes. Nicole, are you ready?
We know.
And the one thing she's been trained in is, let me ask you this question before I give you the floor, madame. How many real estate brokers work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week?
Probably 2%.
Yeah. And if I said that about plumbers or teachers or welders or any other industry, wouldn't that mean like we should go become plumbers, teachers, welders tomorrow? Because for whatever reason, the 10 years that it was too easy, the average person in real estate maybe works 10 to 12 hours a week. Now they might go to the water cooler, they might go to their computer and look at YouTube, they might pretend they're working. But if we actually focused on them for a week, I'm like 10 to 12 hours of actual work. Now she was trained, you go to work at a real estate office, you work all day long. You take a lunch, you get a break here and there, you work like it's a profession. Not like it's a job at Lakeview Drive-In or McDonald's, where you're just sitting there doing your time for the man. Because it's your business. The more you work, the more you can get paid. But for whatever reason, and I mean, I have no idea, there's a lot of reasons, but I don't know what they are. In our business, right now, not everybody's like that, but of course, there's some really good ones. But she knows how to work. Y'all know how to work. But she knows how to work in real estate. And she knows how to handle a rejection. And she knows how to keep that smile going every time, right? So, would you mind?
Yeah, I don't know what you want me to say.
I want you to talk about I want you to get everybody else to talk about, name one of those things that we talked about, and then let's dive into how do we actually mitigate that?
Like the objections?
Yeah, like
That
what
we're
kind of
gonna-
language can we use?
Oh God, I don't know. So, I guess throw something at me.
Much easier.
Anybody? Throw something at me?
The price is too high.
So, are we just gonna go through the objections? Is that what we're doing?
You're the teacher.
No! Give me direction. You keep calling me Goose. I don't know what the reference is from either.
Top Gun.
Maverick?
Oh.
Oh my gosh, you need some
We're gonna have a movie night for sure.
goodness.
She's
Yeah.
a communist. I've discovered it.
Working so much, she doesn't have time for me.
That's a good point.
You
That's a
guys,
good
I
point,
told
Blanca.
you.
Way to defend the work ethic.
What am I?
Yeah, you work
I'm
too
the
much to watch
KBG.
movies.
Isn't that like communist country? KGB?
Well,
Yeah.
you work too much, Blanca said, to watch movies. I admire that.
So, yeah, what am I doing?
Well,
Give me a tee up here.
Okay, so how about, Justin, you get up and be the buyer, and you're going to walk up to the table. And let's first talk about, let's get this table over here. Because this is the table that you send you. Let's grab this one. And so,
I like this.
all right, Nicole, you sit there. Justin, come over here. You're walking up to the table, and I'm going to stop you right out
So
of the
this
gate.
is the table that we've been sitting at,
Yeah,
right?
it's under the tent.
Okay, cool.
You're gonna stop right out of the gate, you see?
Yeah, go ahead. So I'm going to stop right there. Stop.
Okay.
Before he gets here, you make eye contact back here. Those little eyes just stare at me. Okay, then you get up.
Yep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is Justin. Go back over there. Because I'm sitting casually, right?
Yeah.
Most likely texting or whatever adjacent. No, keep walking.
I don't know if I want to come over to the table. I think that might keep going.
When you stand up and he turns around.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm Nicole. Nice to meet you.
I'm Justin.
Nice. Hi, nice to meet you, Justin. Are we just going through the whole thing?
Yeah, we can jump right into hey, I saw these condos. I was here yesterday. I looked at them. I'm just curious about the price. I heard like $1.5 million. Like, whoa. Something, if we want to just get into the price issue as an objection.
Sure.
Yeah, why is the price so high on these? Like, I've looked at the market and these are just priced way too high.
Oh, interesting. Okay, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at a condo, but maybe not on Wapato Point.
Okay, awesome. Well, have you actually seen the inside of Yosemite at all?
I've seen some of the pictures online, but
Yeah. How much do you know about Wapato Point?
well, my family's been coming here for the last 40 years, and so.
Well, that's really cool. Do you guys have a timeshare, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, we do.
Oh, that's cool. So you've had like the 4, like 4 weeks a year, kind of rotates randomly.
2.5. Yep.
Oh,
For
2.5.
the last 40 years.
Yeah. I know. I bet you guys have seen a lot change on Wapito Point, huh?
It's changed, but not a whole lot.
Yeah. Are you sure? Because Cats and Jammers was right down here.
I mean, it was before my time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm not 40.
Well, you should really actually learn a little bit more about Wapito Point. So, let me tell you about this project and why this one's different.
Okay, so let's stop right there. So it's called like anchoring, right? So what she's doing is she's using whatever objection, and this is really good what she's doing because it doesn't matter. Like this is where we want to be when we start, right? It doesn't matter where you start in the conversation. These are all different objections. The faster you can get that person to your starting line, the faster you're controlling the conversation. So what she's doing is she's using historical information to validate her expertise. So she's not going to answer your question. If you answer the question, if you do it just blatantly, like, why, don't you think they're worth it? Well, you're a jerk. But if you start to say, let me frame the answer before I answer it.
Should I be making this more difficult?
No, this is
No,
pretty.
because that's pretty normal.
It's just important to know that wherever the objection comes from, because it could be any of those things we talked about, it goes to that when I'm saying like, I told you, I think I've told all you, and somebody says, hey, I'm going to be in town. I'd like to meet you at 11 o'clock at your office to list my house. I have a meeting at 11. We can do 10 or we can do noon. 11's not good for me. So why am I saying that? Well, he already told me he wants to list his house with me. He's already in the bag.
So you're controlling the conversation.
Yeah. I'm not going to, because if I let him be the doctor and I'm the patient, then the next thing is he's going to tell me everything else he's better at and knows more about than I do.
Yeah.
He's the expert in what he does for a living. I'm the expert in what I do for a living. You have to be the expert advisor for the people, which goes back to the training. Do you know the product? Because when you say, I'm looking at condos and these are too high, if you know the product, which ones?
Yeah.
Lake Chelan Shores, Peterson's Waterfront, Spader Bay. All of a sudden you're lighting him up because he's bullshitting you.
Yeah.
Most of likely he hasn't studied anything.
Yeah.
And if he did, it's on Zillow. And he doesn't really know what the inside of any of these look like or how old they are, what the dues are, or what the amenities are. And that's what you were saying, like, let me tell you about this project.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to start off by, you have to like, not rudely, but you have to become the expert and remind him that that's who you are.
Well, and I was always taught, like, most of the time, you don't want to handle objections when they are given to you. Most of the time,
Right.
like, depending on what it is. Especially up front, like even on phone calls or in-person interactions, they're usually smoke screens. So usually you want to hear them, address that you heard them, but then you want to switch it and you want to, you want to have them step into your world instead, because otherwise you're reactionary, like, right? So then they're the ones that are calling the shots and you're like dodging the punches versus the other way.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you, and this is where it kind of depends on you, right? Like your personality, how you want to transition. But when you start to think about these basic fundamentals, what dictates price? Mm-hmm. 1 donut, 100 cups. 100 donuts, 1 cup. And then I always say this, and it happened the other day. My husband is a cop and he doesn't eat donuts. He's in shape. I'm like, well, I do. No offense, cops. I just picked a cliche, so I don't mean any offense by it.
Yeah.
And I'll often say that, and this one time I didn't. I'll often say, hey, no offense, I like donuts too. Like, I'm just making an example. So there's not an offense. The one time I didn't do that, I didn't handle that objection, her husband was a cop, sure as shit. Yeah. So it was like, oops, I should have used my 90% of the time I say that. And what you'll find is when you're saying these things, it gets like, to you, it might seem like, man, I've said this 100 times, but you haven't said it to this person. And you have to be sincere in what you believe in. So you can go to whatever level you want to go to start to talk about the subject and pull him in. So most of the time, these initial objections or initial conversations, his guard is they're way up, you know, so they're just like throwing shit at you. So, you know, like the other day I had one, I talked for 20, 30 minutes because they go, what do you got going here? And I didn't even talk about the condos for 30 minutes. I just kept trying to mirror and match and find commonality. And I just watched the body language until I got them to where we were joking, we were having fun. I was talking about, you know, people that are like themselves, right? So grandkids have that in common. Kids have that in common. My kid's a doctor. What's your kid? Oh, my kid's in the Marine Corps. Okay, you know, whatever it is. You like sunshine? I like sunshine. You like whiskey? I like whiskey. You know, whatever it is, we have to find some commonality so we can have a conversation about something else before I start selling you a $1.5 million condo. Because if I'm going to talk about money and I don't have trust,
Yeah, you already lost it.
you know, those agents that go, hey, I'd like to see that $2 million home in Eagle Rock. Just got listed. I saw the sign go up. And the agent at the office goes, have you been to a bank? So I don't like wasting my time unless people are pre-qualified.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like I could have had cash.
goodbye. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't talk about money. You just assume they have money and you work through those conversations to get to where you believe you have some trust now. And then you can say, hey, let's strategically figure out how to put you in the best position to make an offer. And that usually means that the seller wants documentation that you're rock solid. If you're not going to write a check, then let's just get some pre-approval letters. I got the guys to avoid and I got the guys you should go to. Which one do you want to use? They smile. Right? You see, it's like, yeah. So what I'm making a point is I know the product. I know which person not to go to. That's part of what I believe is my obligation to you, right? I've been doing this a while. And then here's the real important thing I want to stress. You can be historically accurate by using me as a proxy. My stories, because I've lived here for 4 generations, become your stories. All you have to preface it is my broker says this. The owner of Keller Williams says this. Yeah, he says this. He grew up here. He's got all kinds of crazy stories. Like, his dad was hunting arrowheads out here. Like, that's not that long ago. And then you are becoming the expert about the area. And they're
Especially in their mind.
yeah, and they're starting to trust you.
Yeah, because if you're the expert in the area, then they're, especially if they're West Siders or whatever, they're going to start believing you more,
Yeah.
no matter what you say.
Walls come down.
Maybe from this, like what? Maybe Nicole, you could help pull the challenges out of each of these guys, or from your perspective, what the challenges are.
Well, I guess my question are you having an issue with answering the objections, which are just the questions that everybody's going to have? Because everybody's going to have the same question. It's just like a repeat verbiage of, are you going to say the same thing or are you going to switch it up a little bit? So is the answering the questions the harder part, or is it like doing closing statements and trying to like convert the lead like into an actual buyer, like loop them into like the reservation? Like what part is the harder part? Is it the objections? Is it both?
What are you
For me,
struggling
it's
with?
the closing. For me, it's the closing
Yeah.
part.
Are you
I can answer objections all day long if you know the data, and if you know and you can talk to people and gain their trust, and you can talk to them and you know the answers. But the closing part is, I think, my hardest part.
Are you closing the whole time you're talking to them? By saying things like, yeah, when you own this, like, imagine you guys sitting here looking out at this front. Like, isn't this amazing? We're like on the pool side, and even from this view, you have a great view of the water. Can't you just imagine? Yeah, like you're saying those words, right?
Things, yeah.
Like, you're going to own this. And then when you finance this, are you saying all that?
Like, future tense, you mean?
Yeah.
I would say I'm probably talking about those things, about how they feel about them, but future tense, like, so when you own this, no, probably not to everyone. Depends on the trust level, I think.
Yeah, because I feel like it's really casual when you're even there and you're saying like,
you know, and you're showing them all this, be like, yeah, then this would be where your microwave goes, like, especially when we're walking through the construction stuff, right? Like, the small things, like, this is where your stuff's going.
Yeah.
It really starts painting the picture subconsciously that they're going to own it.
I did hear you say that yesterday when I went with you. Like, yeah, they were like, well, where's your TV go? And you're like, your TV goes right here.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah.
And it's got a perfect little cubby. There's like conduits right there. You hide your cords. Isn't that perfect? Yeah. So, I mean, I struggle with the closing too, because like I know I need to have a little bit bolder statements, which is where I've been listening to Russ a lot, because I'm really good at like subliminal messages. What?
Just thinking about our topic.
Oh, yeah. But like I'm really good at like more subliminal messages, so I make them think that they had the idea before I said it. But sometimes you need to have that bold statement, which I'm I
can do bold statements all day long.
Yeah.
But I find that sometimes if you don't say that right or at the right time,
Yeah, there's risk there.
Yeah.
no.
But there's more risk in this kind of product. Like, think about a first-time home buyer in Wenatchee, that $300,000. That's going to be a very different conversation than a $1.5 million second home. That buyer of a second home at Wapato Point that could do that is going to be a more bold, more confident person, most likely.
Yeah.
Have more sophistication, most likely. The irony is that it's easier to sell second homes than it is first-time home buyers. Way easier. That's one of the myths. Like, oh, it's $1 million, so it's hard. No, it's freaking easy compared to a first-time home buyer. They don't know anything. Like,
And they're penny pinching because it's tight.
Oh, yeah.
What I've noticed that you're really good at, though, that I've watched you or listened to you do, is you already know what you're going to say over here when you're right here in the conversation.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
You're pulling them where you want to go. Whether it's, you know, the pins are at the end of the bowling alley, right? So your job is to put the guards up and let them roll the ball.
Yeah.
They're the ones that threw the ball, but you're just going to make sure at the end the ball hits the pins.
Yeah.
And so that's what this is all about. It's
reframing.
targeting and retargeting, targeting and retargeting. And you'll let them go on a tangent for a while. But you want to pull them back, because at the end of the day, you have a very finite amount of time. And that's why the boldness is more important when you have a very finite amount of time.
Yeah.
If I had a month, if I had a week even, if I have 14 minutes to date you, we're speed dating.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're only walking them through the one unit or whatever. You got to do stuff quick sometimes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ground cover when you have to hit every, 5 to 10 objections that they're going to have. And you want to hit them in your secret, like, as much as possible. You want to hit them in your secret, like, section of your conversation. That way it flows and it makes sense. And like the reframing, if they have an objection, you most of the time want to acknowledge it. Sometimes you can answer it if it makes sense. Sometimes if you're like, they don't have enough context yet, that's when you like acknowledge it and then you're waiting to answer it at another point. That's how I view it. I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah, and it's okay to lose. Like, it's okay to lose going for it. Then it's more okay for that than, in my opinion, than to lose being passive. Because to me, if you're losing being passive, you're an order taker. I'd rather you go out down swinging.
Do you guys feel like you're saying pretty much the same thing when you're going through the condos?
You mean the same line items, or do you mean
Same
the
process.
same, like,
Yeah.
step by step by step by step?
Yeah.
I think no, I'm not, because it depends on their interest, how I can get to them, right? Maybe you get to them because they don't have to do any grounds maintenance compared to getting to them about the feeling they have when their kids are in the water. So that's different, right? So to me, I'm trying to find that spot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I think about it in my mind anyway.
Yeah. So I think that'd be more overall with like an ending closing statement would be more like Russ's. I feel like I even am trying to learn from you on that one. Like being better at closing overall at the very end. I do it.
The need of a closing statement.
Yeah. Like I do adjacent, but I feel like I could be a lot stronger on it.
Well, we can all be more proficient. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this game. There's no levels, not like there's a level we win the game and that's over. No, it's infinite. So once you realize it's infinite, then you're always learning.
Yeah.
And then you have good days and you have not so good days. You just try to have more good days than not so good days.
Yeah.
But no, the perfection is elusive. It's not going to happen. There are going to be deals where you just click with a person. They're very easy. You know you're going to date. You're going on a second date. You're going on a third date. You already know that. As soon as you smile at each other, you're like, done. Then there's other people that's like ball and chain stuff. Like, I'm dragging you to the date.
Yeah.
You know, or vice versa. Like, I'm just not clicking with you, dude. You're killing me. I can't stand you. I have to date you anyway. Like, you know, that's okay too, because it's not literally dating, right? It's just I'm trying to get you to understand what I know, because I know that if you know what I know, you're buying this.
Yeah.
That's what makes this job so easy, because look around us.
Yeah.
Somebody built a freaking winery here. Called it Four Lakes because there's Dry Lake, Roses Lake, Wapato Lake, and Lake Chelan. That's the 4 lakes. You see 3 of them right here. Who had that vision?
Yeah.
Wow. This is only 30 years old, this whole winery thing. Not even 30 years old. It's like 25 years old, 20 years old. It's crazy. So when you're talking to somebody, they think they know something, but they don't know what you know.
Yeah.
And then the question comes back to recon. Are you reconning, researching what you do for a living? Are you literally working 8 hours a day? If you have another job, that means you're probably working 16 hours a day.
If you're her, you just never sleep.
Never sleep, yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so like I guess going back to the closing, you know, as of the last little bit, you know, it's like when you get down, especially if you take them down to the water area, they can see some pictures, because like we can't get into B this week, so we're just seeing E and they're envisioning what it's going to be like finished product wise. You know, it's like, great, so what's your goal? Which one can you see yourself in? Like, those are things I'm saying, but I don't know if there's correction on that.
I think sometimes it's as easy as, well, there's no right or wrong, right? So sometimes it's easy as saying, why wouldn't you buy one of these?
Yeah.
Tell me why you wouldn't. Let me see if I have the answer for you. But
Yeah, finances. Well,
yeah, whatever it is. Well, I don't think, you think this isn't going to go up in value? Really? Wow. Okay. Well, let's talk about that. You know, let's use that guy that put in the reservation agreements that you worked with, that I worked with you. Can you explain what you saw happen there? So in context, like
in context.
just so that, you know, it's a real life
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. So, I mean, Russ helped save my bacon, is what happened.
No.
Which, like, I think multiple people, if you can have multiple people out there at one time, it's very helpful. Because even like yesterday when you and Brooke and Justin was out there, I was like, if you have questions, you bring them down here, like I'll tag team with you and I'll like help you close them. Because I think having that second person, especially like some people, they're like, I don't want to get sold. Some have that kind of mentality. So having a second person validate the information you've already been saying is just refreshing. I don't know, and might help close it. So I think if you have multiple people out there, it's very helpful if you tag team that.
I call it third party endorsement.
And we
Yeah.
all fumble, like, from time to time. I fumbled last night, and she was trying to save me, and I just kept dropping.
All the time.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're going to fail more often than you're going to win.
Yeah.
That's the name of this game.
But if you don't fail, then you don't know what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
So now he's going to be like, I'm not going to do that again. Like, I'm always going to now say it this way or whatever.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to do that.
Think about 45 days ago and where you started. This has been 45 days.
Yeah.
This is like a crash course, 1,000 showings. Like, that's trial by fire. Now think about the people that haven't done that in the last 45 days. If you remember or recall what I said when we were training,
Yep.
this will change the game for you. Mm-hmm. And guess how many people are like,
Is it though?
yeah, I don't know, it's a long drive. Okay, maybe it is. It's a really ugly one. The mighty Columbia River. Definitely I-5 traffic bumper to bumper. I can see where you're coming from.
It's only ugly because I got some bugs on my windshield. That's about it.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I am washing my car more.
So,
Horrible drive.
Yeah. But no, back to Russ's like question. once again said everything he's told us before, right? But he said it to that guy because I told Russ preemptively. I was like, he came back for a second day because he came quickly. He's like, I dragged him in on a Tuesday last week. That him and his wife were walking by, and they're like, "Oh, he only got 5 minutes." I'm like, "That's fine. Let's go see B4, whatever." And so then obviously they stayed longer than 5 minutes, but they wanted a bigger unit with the 2 bedrooms. So I was like, "Great, let's do a tour tomorrow, and I'll, come back." So, and then I followed up with him the next day to make sure he was still coming back. When he was coming back, when I would be there, all that. So I think follow up is also important.
It's the key.
But when he showed up, I knew that he was a numbers guy from the conversation before. His wife fell in love emotionally. His wife was the emotional lover. She walked out of the primary and was like, "I'm ready. I want to buy this right now. I love this. I want this." And then he's trying to rationalize why they should get it because she wants it. Mm-hmm. So I knew he was a numbers guy and he wanted it to financially make sense. And I knew that I had some answers, but not all of them. So I wanted to, luckily Russ was there. So I tapped him in and I was like, "Hey, you're going to be here for a minute? Because I'll need your help." So he said the same stuff he's said to us since the beginning of what this is like. He talked about, the guy, his name's Matt, came down and immediately started asking him okay, what's the short-term rental going to look like for vacancy rate in December and whatnot. And so Russ went through all of the same stuff that he's talked about, like the vacancy rates, like how much you can do on your short-term rental, what is happening in Chelan County with the short-term rentals, and the scarcity and what's going to happen in 2 years because of that and what's forecasted for that and how they're appreciating on average 30% for a short-term rental. He talked about the occupancy rates. So he talked about all those things, but the way he did it was also strategic, which is why he repeats it so often so you guys can pick up on the small cues that he does. So, for example, Russ talks a lot about if there's a question like that, you want to answer it fast, and then you want to expand, and you want to talk about it slower. So we answered the question fast, if you're going to be in the peak season, you may be 80% occupancy rate. If you're on your shoulder season, you're probably 60%. And then in the wintertime, you're probably 30%. And then he started doing statistics really fast, and then he slowed it down. And he's like, "Well, let me tell you about Chelan County. Do you know anything about Chelan County, STR regulations?" And then he starts talking slow, and he puts down his shoulders, and he starts talking with his hands. And he starts telling the story about the history of here. So then he's also creating he's the expert of the area. He knows it. This is stuff that guy doesn't know. So he needs to have a bigger perspective. So he's not just looking at oh, my December is going to suck. He's looking at the long game at that point. Mm-hmm. But that all matters. So the fact that he answered quick with statistics because he wanted it, and then let me give you the broad picture. You're thinking really small. I want you to zone out and think bigger.
And when you do that with the numbers, it's approximately.
Yeah.
So I can shotgun it. I don't know if I'm accurate. I just have a pretty good idea that it's much higher in the summer than the winter. But then I'll say, by the way, have you heard of Fire and Ice Festivals? This is a great example of many examples that the Chamber of Commerce and other organizations like 50 Wineries are trying to create more awareness every year. And guess what happens when somebody has a good time in Chelan? They go home and do what? Tell their friends. And there's nothing more powerful than the word of mouth, right? So we agree. So what I just did is I took something, took it over here, and then we agree. Because nothing is more powerful than word of mouth. So instead of going, "I don't know," because I don't know exactly, now to expand on that, I will say, but I think I said it this way.
Yeah, but I also hired, and then he talked about how he's hiring the appraiser. I forgot what it's called, like an ABA appraisal or something, which is going to be an income-based approach. And then he goes into that whole aspect of what that's really going to show. So then they know that you're going to make this kind of money or what kind of money you're going to make on it. And it's going to have all the numbers and the statistics. And then he starts talking about the round robin. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, round robin of appraisal. So my appraisal is probably not going to be your appraisal. So what I don't want him to think is I'm colluding because I'm going to influence this appraisal. I can hire a guy. It's called a fee-based appraisal. And then what I'm doing is helping him do the recon, because I need the recon that gives me the stats, which are facts. So they're going to go to these other units and they're going to do the work, the legwork. Then that package is going to be available to any appraiser that comes. So wherever you go to get a loan, they're going to put that into the round robin of appraisals, which you don't know who you're going to get. Might be this guy, may not be. But either way, I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm not influencing you, but I had an appraisal done. I can leave it on the counter if you want to look at it.
Like a pre-appraisal.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be like, hell yeah, I
So
do.
he wants to see the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for him to get that done, right? It doesn't
He's
take as
like,
much.
Oh yeah, this is almost done for me.
Exactly.
Well, and then he can see the big picture. But then he's also like, okay, they're educated enough and smart enough to have already pre-thought about this. Even though he's not saying it, he's saying it. So that's why what you say matters when you're talking about it. Because Russ didn't have to go into that whole conversation about what the what's it called? Red Robin?
Round robin.
Round Robin. Yeah. That whole thing, but he did. I mean, he even went over the legislation about like why that was an issue back in 2008.
The Dodd-Frank legislation. That's
Yeah.
400 million words that nobody read.
Exactly. So like that conversation could have been like an eighth of the time, but the context that he gave him was so much bigger that the guy stopped thinking so small, and that was a big point. And so, yeah. And he also, within that time frame, literally accomplished every single one of those objections at the same time. So he talked about how Jeff Bezos cannot build another Wapato Point. You know, how this is scarcity. We're only going to sell 15 more.
And like there's an example. Instead of saying Wapato Point, say peninsula.
Oh, peninsula.
Because people on the west side of the mountains know what a peninsula is. They don't necessarily, in their psychology, innate psychology, Wapato Point doesn't go anywhere. When I say peninsula, whatever peninsula they're familiar with,
Okay.
that's how they're going to think about it. Oh yeah, they couldn't build that peninsula in Port Townsend.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So
that makes sense.
I'm anchoring something they already know to make a point about Wapato Point.
Yeah.
It's automatically I'm talking about Wapato Point, so I don't have to say Wapato Point. I just need to say Jeff Bezos can't build a peninsula into Lake Chelan.
Right.
In Washington State, I don't think they're making less rules. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's political. So if I'll catch the political, like where they're at. Like, are they red? Are they blue? How red? How blue? So I'll know how to frame the same point in a different manner. That's the chameleon. I'm not lying. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm just saying the words in the right order that they can understand, like it's a dialect.
Yeah.
That's all commonality is I'm learning how to speak your dialect. We all speak the same English, but there's dialects, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and then even brought up in the gist of it how part of the fees of doing a short-term rental, when he was talking about the income you can make, is at that 3.5% goes to the Wapato family. And also, we have this as the lease, but this is probably why they're going to keep it because, and he describes at that point how they're enjoying probably living in London, and they're talking about that 99-year lease. It's not legal, but, they're probably enjoying living in London, just living off that 3.5%. Why would they want to come back here and put in the extra work?
No, it's a fact that this lease, that's 51 years or whatever, 50 years, 51 years, they took this lease and they're trying to get it extended as we speak. Recently, they got on an airplane, they flew to Paris. They had the world notary, whatever that is, which is like notary that everybody believes in the world. And they had that family member, there's five families, they had them sign the 99-year lease. And then they flew it back. They're working towards that. So when you think about it, I wonder why you're living in Paris. Because people think 5 Indian families, like, oh, they're natives.
Yeah.
They're broke.
No.
They're not broke.
No.
They're filthy wealthy.
Yeah.
Do they want that automatic income going away?
Yeah, they're enjoying that, sitting wherever they're sitting.
But we can't, but she's saying we can't represent there's 99-year-old. We can't even, it's not there. So, and then I'll go into like, well, nobody gives a shit about their kids anymore and the banks only care about 30 years. So 51's enough.
And he makes the jokes when it's a serious point in the conversation. So especially when he's done talking heavily about numbers or like a serious topic, he wants to lighten the mood because he wants to switch from their like brain, like going way too deep into like a very analytical thought back to like, okay, let's have a little bit more fun here. And let's like lighten the mood.
The emotional driven, why they're standing in front of me to begin with.
Yeah.
Because that's really the 7th grade teacher, the wife. She's emotionally jacked up. So that's going to happen.
Yeah, and Russ has got like 5 jokes. So basically, no, but this is my point. Hang on, it's not a bad thing. You have like 5 jokes in your pocket though that you can easily pull out and use anytime to lighten a mood. If you have to try to think of a joke on the fly, I'm gonna vomit. I'm not gonna do it, right? So
Get teen dad jokes.
There's a guy that
exactly.
walks into a bar. No, oh, shit, I don't know where I was going. with that.
Yeah, but it's like those. You just need to like create your own like little bit of like mood lighteners. You know, whether it's a joke or it's like a little funny jab or like a story, whatever it is, something
that-
to help reframe and relighten the mood. If it gets too serious or awkward, that would be a good thing.
So like I said about the stairs. Okay, we know the stairs are steep. So I can debate that the stairs aren't going to be replaced. So are you really not going to buy it because of the stairs? Have I ever not sold a condo because of stairs? So instead of getting into this intellectual debate about stairs being what they are, because we're not changing them, you know what I do? I put a fucking bed mattress right there and I tell my kids to dive into the window. I bet my 2-year-old beat my 6-year-old. He's crazy. Are we still talking about the stairs? Or are we done? Because we're not changing the fucking stairs.
Deflected.
It's deflected. I'm not. It doesn't matter. If you don't want to buy the condo because of the stairs, you're not going to buy the condo.
When you can't win the battle, so don't try to pick
No,
up your
I've just
sword
been
at it.
I've just been moving the conversation to a different feature.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect kids lair. It's like a Batman cave. That's the coolest stairs ever if you're going to a Batman cave.
Yeah, all the kids are gonna love it,
Yeah.
and that's all you gotta say. Like every kid is gonna love this. This is
Where
like,
you put the aunt that doesn't like the kids.
yeah, this is a jungle
Up the
gym.
stairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You get old, you got to pee like I do. I'll be dead before morning.
My favorite one is when they're like, my favorite one is when they're like, how is this to code? And then I'm like, what code?
Right.
Yeah, you're on the
Well,
point.
in Europe it is.
Yeah. Exactly. This is hired by the best architects and the best builders. Like, it might not be to Chelan County code, but
Doesn't have to be.
it doesn't have to be.
Well, for example, right now we're trying to convert to purchase sale agreements, right? Reservation agreements. And the language often comes from very sophisticated agents, the certificate of occupancy. There is none. It's a notice of completion because there is no government regulation with respect to the building code. It's all built to the building code, but there's no certificate because Chelan County is where a certificate comes from. So when you want to trigger occupancy, you have to give notice from the seller, okay, it's finished. That's a formal notice. Now you have 3 days. You know, we got to close this deal.
Yep.
So there's this language that is vernacular that if you allow to slide may create the false foundation. Now that's getting deep, right? But the more you learn, because it's infinite, the more I do this with you guys and the more I'm learning on like how do I come up with something else, right? So this is why we do this. This isn't stuff that's super easy. You know, there's a million people and a million questions and they come at you from all these different angles. At the end of the day, when you realize that there are only about 6 to 8 things you need to talk about, it doesn't really matter what they say.
I mean, if you already know how you're going to say it, no matter who you're talking to, like you can change it a little bit. But that's because you have it memorized so much that at that point, it's easy to just switch it in the conversation to be natural. But if you don't have it memorized, then you can't be natural. That's when you're fumbling. So it's like that practice of the repetition really matters. And that's why Russ repeats himself a lot. Is also because then you're like, you have that ingrained in you of that. But you also have to say it yourself for it to make sense. And everybody talks different. Like, I'm never going to sound like Russ ever in my life. Especially when he's like super bold with his questions. But
Give me an example of what I say is super bold. I don't even know what I say.
like yesterday,
What did I say?
let's see, what were you saying? I don't know. It was when you were asking questions. Oh. It's like when you were saying, when you're at a listing appointment, something about like, oh, you want 1%? Oh, you want to sell your house for $1 million? Oh, that's fine. I'll put your sign in the yard or something like.
Oh, yeah.
It was like aggressive
Yeah.
with your question, and like, I can't do that to the same level. Could I a little bit? Yeah, but could I do it at the same level? No.
It's a great commission question handler. Oh, you want me to put a billboard in your front yard and I use that to sell people that price their home right? I won't do that, but there are agents that would do that. That's why they don't give a shit how much you pay them. And they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. That's because they're going to use yours as a billboard. I'll give you the names off the record. I don't want to get in trouble, but I know who you should call.
Yeah.
If you want to be the boss and you want to be the doctor and they're the patient, I'll give you the numbers.
Do you know what I always say? I always go, I'm not a discount broker, but I have a few numbers if you'd like me to refer you to one.
That's the same basic statement, right?
Same
You-
statement, yeah.
Well, last night in a meeting, right? with-
And that's like that's my condescending little question, but I can't be like Russ where he's like in your face. But like I can do it a little bit, but I can't do it like him. But that's where like you gotta really just practice your craft and your style on communication.
Let's see if Tom answers. This will be interesting. Tom and Marcia have been with me for what, 13 years?
Correct.
Let's see if he answers the phone.
He's like, Russ is calling me, damn. I'm off the clock.
Hey,
Hey, Tom.
yo,
Hey, can I ask you a question about when you guys first came to work? I'm out here with the group. You're on speaker.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
well, hello, everybody. Okay.
Okay, so
It sounds like a fun group you got going there. What's that?
this is Regis, and I'm calling a friend. So, phone a friend. So, what I'd like to know is,
Hey, come on, Russ. I hope they're friends.
yeah.
That's good.
So, when you guys first came to work, among some of the things that I did that was kind of fascinating you is you used to say, I say the same thing over and over and over again. Could you explain eventually why you were kind of like, why does he do that in the beginning and then what ended up happening because of it, by chance?
Yeah, you know something, Russ. It's interesting to bring that up because when Marcia and I first met you, we were living a couple of careers, and one of the things we were really big in was training. We did a lot of training materials and did a lot of delivery. We actually trained trainers, and so education is something that's very important to us. And so when we hooked up with you, you throw us in the back of your car, and we drive off to see things, and you start talking. And I started trying to record you too at the same time because I cannot keep up with what you're saying when it comes out of the fire hose the first time. And what I quickly learned is the fire hose will hit you again more than one time. So you don't have to worry about memorizing and hearing something one time and not hearing it again. And there's an advantage to that because in the process of trying to take your personality and what your message is, you have to be able to first understand and memorize what the concepts are, what the details are. But more importantly is over time, when you're dealing with clients and you're driving around in a car or you're on a site in a house or on a piece of property, how do you take that and put it into your own words? And you're not able to do that if you don't have that first part memorized, and you don't want to turn around and try and talk back and say the same thing exactly the way you say it. However, you have to memorize that first before you can kind of absorb that into your own personality so you can deliver the same message in your own words as you would say it. Because if I tried to memorize and say what you say, it would not be me, because you're the only Russ McClellan out there. And it works for you. But as I drive around and I started talking to people about, I don't care if it's driving by a property going up Union Valley and you start pointing out places that have an HOA and don't have an HOA, or whether it's talking about rattlesnakes and flowers, or whether it's talking about other things that come into what it is, or the boogeyman for the different clients, what their fears are versus that scares them away. If you talk about it in advance, then you know what, they already heard it from you, and then when they start seeing it, it's not a big deal. And there's certain things like Muffy is one of the things I picked up from you, because you have to pre-qualify. When I heard about pre-qualifying, I thought it was like, what are your financials? How much money do you have in your banking account? And you start doing that in your first conversation with a client, and it turns them off because who are you and why should I tell you if I have a down payment or what my financials are? But what you really taught us was there's four things. There's motivation, which is the first one. There's urgency, there's financial capabilities, and there's expectations. That's MUFE. And once I got that, I could be on a telephone call or be on a job site. And once I got that into my personality, I could talk about all four of those things, but not be poking them about what's in their bank account. But I could find out whether they're urgent to buy right away, whether they're financially capable, whether they're urgent or they're a looky-loo, going to take a long time. And that was my pre-qualification. And those are things that, are not written in a book. And it's something that's ingrained with you after all the years you've been in the industry. And by having you say that over and over and over again, I finally got that down into something that was in my vocabulary that I could transfer to a client and do it with my own personality, not trying to imitate, what you were trying to tell us. And so I find that we call it the fire hose, but when we got fire hosed and got fire hosed over and over again, those are the kind of things that we started understanding your teaching style and understanding what your message was. And then the third thing was trying to, how do I integrate that into my personality so I'm comfortable talking about it and don't feel phony trying to repeat something from someone else. So I don't know what you were asking me.
Yeah,
there,
did you guys? That's all great stuff. That's great
my
stuff.
fire hose right back at you, Russ.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think you guys were taping me, and then you'd go downstairs. Would you replay the tape and then whiteboard it, or something like that?
Hey, Russ, I hate to break it to you, but I take the whiteboard down.
I know that. In the first year, like I remember you guys like taping, and then you go down, you study it, like you break it down like an engineer that you are.
Well, I can't help it. That's how I break it down with what your style is, Russ. I had to make it my style.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I had to do.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the call. I know it's later than some, but you guys have any questions for Tom? We got him?
Gold star.
Thank you, Tom.
You're such a great student.
Yeah, gold star, she says. You got a gold star.
I tell you what, success to every one of you. I tell you what,
All right,
it's a future out there, and things are changing, and I wish you all the luck.
Thanks, Tom. See ya.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I thought that's he made a lot of great points. I thought like they just asked me like, can I just tape you? Could you start talking like a wind-up toy? And then they wouldn't try to memorize it that way because he's a civil engineer. He likes to say he's a recovering civil engineer from Gonzaga University. And that's what he did for a career for a long time before he started his own company of arbitration work. But he would then take it, play it slow, they'd pause it, and they asked me to give them a big whiteboard on their whole wall downstairs in the office, and they started breaking it down. And that's how he, like in his mind, was able to digest it. Yeah. Because it's not in a book, right? There's a lot of things like the inflection in your voice and you're talking with your hands, but it's not, you got to be you. So until you start getting the foundation and getting, like right now, you've had 45 days of foundation work. That's why the first half of a football game is important, but it's not nearly as important as the second half. What adjustments are we making? And what's the goal? The good news is this also will stack to the next one. So you'll start the next goal, whether it's just a lot or a buyer for a house or a project, you'll be that much further advanced. And every time you're doing this, remember, nobody else is. There's nobody else, I guarantee you, in this, probably North Central Washington, that is studying like this, that are focused like this.
This is the first team I've been on that's been this dedicated.
And they don't even know how. I mean, you go to KW right now in Austin, there's some people that are focused. There's some people right now in Austin, Texas, as we speak at Mega Camp, that are flamethrowers. And I've been to a lot of them. I've been to like 5 years of it. A lot of that is hard to apply for me. Some of it's very good to apply. But really, what I've learned after 5 years of Mega Camp, family reunion, all this training, and OP goes through, all the TL stuff I went through, all the various instructions and speakers, and they're all amazing, right? It really comes down to the fundamentals. And that's all it really is. It's none of this other stuff for us is that important because we're not selling Compton. We're not selling South Seattle or West Seattle. where 10,000 other people are trying to sell it. We have a market where 3% is the average people that are working full time. Now they're going to be offended if they saw this tape and they're like, wow, it's bullshit, I sell more than you. Well, maybe you do, and maybe I'm not talking about you. Maybe you're part of the 3%. But when you look at the 400 agents in the MLS, you can look at the numbers. It drops off pretty fast. You know, like 100 or more didn't do a deal. Like, so it's like, okay, well, that's my competition. So is it fair to say that with work ethic and some information, I can go get my unfair share?
Yeah.
Because once you believe you can get your unfair share, then anything is possible. That's the first thing that's hard to believe.
Right.
Anything is possible.
Hey, how are you doing? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jess.
she's right inside. Yeah, of course. So, what other things are people struggling with in general with real estate and talk and conversations? It doesn't have to be just at Cindy in general, but I mean, I know that that's a big translator because we're doing tours all the time. So we're like face-to-face interaction. Closing is your thing? What about you, Blanca?
I have issues with contracts, but I haven't done any, so
I think my biggest is, the follow-up. So a lot of these people are, I get contact info and I shoot them information and then they make that decision without me being part of it. They get it in their head that, oh, we're not going to buy.
Yeah.
And then they shoot back that email saying that, hey, you're SOL and, we're not interested.
Yeah. Have you ever heard this expression?
Yep. 100%.
A lot of people think about this in the perspective of they're going to lie to me. Like, I make this much money and I don't. That's where that originated. Like, it was a negative connotation. I invert the meaning of that. I think that's true, but I think when they tell me no, you know what that really is to me?
Not yet.
How else do you think I got girls to date me in high school? I wasn't exactly Adonis. I had a plan to hang out with better looking dudes and then I'd just sweet talk them.
Yeah, but you did take no for an answer sometimes,
I
right?
had to take no for an answer sometimes. But I just said no was just the first word in a great relationship. And that doesn't mean we dated. It just meant we had a great relationship. Okay? So no is a yes, just not now.
Yeah.
Because what they're really saying to you is, Mike, in a hot seat like a resort, it's all timing, right? So if you're going to accept no for an answer, and that's when you're done, yeah, you're in the wrong industry. FU of real estate is called the FU of real estate for a reason, because it's not easy. So here's what happens. Let's say somebody goes online. Let's say they come to Yosemite. They then go home. They then fill out a Zillow request to look at condos or Redfin or one of the websites, and they hit enter. Mm-hmm. And somebody just bought their lead.
Yep.
And then guess what that company does? They sell that lead to multiple people, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you're going to get pinged. And here's the players in the game. These are the premium Zillow purchasers of leads. Now, here's day one. They're all at the gates. They all make this first call. Okay? This is the answer. Second call. Oh, by the way, they don't make calls. That's the first mistake people are making. There's a theory that a lot of people that are under 35, 40 believe that if you call somebody without texting that you're going to call them, it's rude. I don't agree with that. I think they don't have to answer their phone. And I leave them a voicemail. It's old school. It's very old school. Yeah, a lot of people don't call, so they text or they email. Well, for example, today, I said, look, when we're going to talk to other agents, let's not email them until we've talked to them. Because we have to sell them. You see, I believe selling real estate doesn't mean I'm selling the real estate. Like if I have a buyer or if I'm a listing agent, either one, I'm selling the other agent. That's who I get to talk to. Now, when I started, did you know that we presented all offers to the seller in front of the listing agent? But it was nobody never did. If you didn't present your offer for your buyer to the seller personally while the listing agent was there, you were fired.
Wow. Wild. Well, wildly different.
Wildly different. And it was one page for everything. And by the way, we all represented the seller at the end of the day. So it was like agency law, RCW 1886 didn't exist. Everybody represented the seller, even if it was my brother. Sorry, I don't have a brother, but you know what I'm saying. So, call, text, email. What happens is, pretty soon, only a few stay with you. So what started out with all these agents over here ended up 6 to 8 months later, they buy. It's 2% on the first call of a conversion on an internet lead.
Yeah, it's almost 80% for about the 12th call.
Yeah, it's like 70%, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not because, it's because of the persistence, it's also because we lost the competition. You were the last one standing. I care about you now.
Yeah.
Because you were persistent. You didn't give up on me. I admire that in you. Because if I have the money to buy a second home, I know what it takes to be successful. And that's not working 12 hours a week. It's working 60 hours a week.
Yep.
So just remember, as you're getting rejected, you're just one rejection closer to a yes.
Well, and is it even really a rejection? Or is it just a put off? It's just not a yet.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? It's your definition. If you don't know that it's not, then you think logically, if you don't have the experience, you're going to think a no means a no.
Yeah, but they're not saying, Russ, you called me, I don't like you as a person.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that might happen for you sometimes, but like in general. No, but like in general, like if you're following up with somebody, they're not going to be like, you know what, I don't like you, Brooke. You called me once, I didn't like you on the phone call, I am rejecting you. Like, that's not what they're saying. They're just saying, I don't think so. And it's about the thing, it's not about you.
Yeah, don't personalize it. Don't feel like, also don't do this. When I say something to you and it resonates with you, it feels like I'm talking directly to you and I'm hammering on you. I'm not. I'm talking about everybody. I'm saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. It's an epidemic. Work ethic's a problem. Priorities are a problem. What are you willing to sacrifice is a problem. Like you said, 3% of the agents are working. Now, I don't know why, because I'm old enough to know that I aged up beyond what I understand. And I'm the guy that's like, where's the fax machine? I get that. Like, what's a JPEG? I get that. I've been that guy. I'm never going to touch a phone. Are you kidding me? Things move fast and you do age out. So that's why I surround myself with who? Partners. Guy in tech who's 48. Partners. Luke, he's a classical pianist, 32. Sydney, 32. Hell of a karaoke singer. He's got a full ride as a singer. Different generations, different viewpoints, I try to surround myself with people that can combine strengths to achieve a common goal. That's the idea of a team. That's why we all bring something unique. Just because something resonates with you, that's probably an insecurity with you. And that's probably something you need to face if it's hurting your feelings. Because I'm not here to hurt your feelings unless it's important to hurt them, because you need it.
Hurts so good.
Hurts so good. It's like I tell my, when I was telling my kids, when I was raising kids, they're like, I'm not your friend, I'm your trainer, And they were like, but I'm going to tell your mom. I'm like, you go do that. I have a deal with her. If I ground you, she's grounding you. Because we went back and forth, right? But you have to make things up as you go in life. Like you're not where you were yesterday and you're not in tomorrow yet. So today you do the best you can with what you got and you get up and you try to do it again tomorrow. And if you surround yourself with a bunch of positive people, that will actually cover your ass and have your back when you're down, when you need a help, when you need somebody to cover you, or in my case, no one goes to you directly without going through me. No one. Somebody comes at you, they have to come to me. That's what being with me means. And that's, you know, Papa Bear shit. That's just the way I was raised. If I wanted to get my ass kicked, I would not defend a little girl at the playground. But my dad would make sure that I defended the girl next time. And if I got my ass kicked by the bully, that was a better opportunity for me, because that kid's in 3rd grade. My dad's not. So, like, you know, not that my dad hurt me or anything, but I'm just saying, like, he would be pissed at me. But when I got in trouble and thrown in the principal's office because I defended Sally, my dad's like, high five, and bought me some ice cream. Like, that was a reward. And the principal's like, what are you guys talking about? You don't want my kid to defend the defenseless? Well, I don't know where you're at, but this is how I raise my kids. So that's just programmed into me, right? That's how I've always been, to a fault, right? To a fault. I've taken that to the extreme when I was a little depressed. So it's not always a good thing, but that's an example of the things go sideways too. You just have to rebuild. You have to start over. Sometimes you take 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward. These are all cliches. We've heard them all. But as it relates to real estate, never, ever stop closing. The moment you stop closing, if that person's willing to take your email and hasn't shut you off, send them another email. Remember those 4, the 1 through 4? So about follow-up, I grade the buyers basically. Now they do it programs now, but if you have to go manual. Like on a project, put your people in categories and set up those campaigns. Hot buyers, if this is hot, and this is an iceberg, this is cool, this is warm. This is grading a buyer. Now this person talks every day. I'm in their pocket. This is once a week, once a month, once every 3 months. The goal is to get this person to here. To get this person to here. To get this person to here. Sometimes this person goes to here because they go home and their wife says, no deal. Or the husband, I don't want to be like sexist.
Always a woman's fault.
I'm very politically correct. So these people exchange places. But if you're tracking this, you know this, and you know the story by taking notes. You know the conversations by taking notes. We all have strengths, right? Well, one of the things I can do is I can take a relationship and I have like a photographic memory on where I left it. But I can't find my keys, my wallet, my sunglasses. I mean, like, it's bad.
We've witnessed it, so we all.
Yeah, so it's like we all have strengths and weaknesses, right? Like a deal, I know exactly where we're at in the deal. And I know exactly how to get you to where I want you to be, and what I'm going to say to you next. When I know you're going to take a right step instead of a left step, I've done that enough. So there's a strength, but then I have to surround myself with people to help me with what I perceive as detail work that I don't want to do. Mostly because I hate it. Therefore, I'm no good at it because I've already resigned. I hate it. I give in. I don't want to be that person. And so on. So you start to close people from the minute you meet them till the minute you sell them. And then you start to close them again.
Always be working.
You need a mechanic. Combining strengths to achieve the common goal.
Railing wire and duct tape.
Yep. Duct tape it is.
You got a table now.
All right. I want to get out of these guys. Okay. How about we talk about just a couple lines? Like, would you like to talk about a couple lines that you use when you want to get a deal? Like, you've done all the work. It's that awkward moment where I got to ask you out on the date.
Do it. The line.
The line. You guys are too young, so I can't make the jokes about Happy Days and Fonzarelli, but.
That was bad. I should have prefaced.
So one of the things I say is like, it's weird if like say, hey Brooke, you want to buy the condo? You want to write it up? Yeah, that's an aggressive, like that's a lot, right? How about I say this? Man, we've had a good day, huh? This view kind of sucks. What did I say? There was 15 left? Something like that. I wonder if we make a run at it today. I wonder what we could do. Want to make a run at it? See what happens. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, if you don't, that's okay. Tomorrow will be 12. And I know this, the guy that gets in first gets a better deal. The guy that comes in last pays the most. That's because imagination equals equity. The one that has it gets the equity. And if I have to finish this damn thing, it's a resale. And the pool's all done, and the grass is all green, and the trees are all mature. Lake's still blue, the sun's still hot. And there's still 300 days of sunshine in this glacier-fed, crystal clear lake that we have out back, that bathtub thing out there. So I know it's going to be more expensive next time, if there is a next time. It's the way these are going to cash flow. When you could fix your payment at 30 years, and the appreciation of the rent goes like this is called rich. You sure you want to make a run at it? I'll send you the email. Let's make a run at it. I'd offer 1.35.
But then there's, besides what he's saying, it's the subtleties like he's doing. Right? So he asked the question, he knew that there's only 15. But it's one of those obvious questions. He's reminding them in a nice casual way. You know, he starts talking faster, then he's talking really slow. And then if they say no, he's talking even lower. Slower, lower. It's like, it gets to the point. It's the small stuff that matters.
Yeah, I believe in it so much. And I'm not going to treat this with an immature mind. I believe in this for you. I wouldn't be here. I could probably do a lot of things just like you. A lot of things we can do in our lives, huh? For whatever reason, we're both sitting on this lake right now, that bathtub out back. I don't know. I remember 20 years ago, there was like one winery, and now there's like 47. I did a PowerPoint not that long ago. It seems like yesterday, but it was like 1 million people ago. 1 million more people moved to Seattle. Have you guys heard the stats about how many people are moving all over the world to Seattle? How much money that top 2% in China has, how top 2% in India have? You know, there's 4 billion people in 2 countries. There's only 330 million Americans. Seattle, Austin, Texas, Boise, Idaho. These are wild places. Try to imagine 160 miles east of 4.8 million people. What's the percentage of those people that want to have a good time with a 2.5 hour drive do you really need to make a lot of money? When money alone can't duplicate this. So are you really paying $1.3 million, $1.4 million, $1.5 million? Are you really paying like $300,000, $400,000 down? And fix that payment. And you can always date the rate, you know the cliche. So I know this, the Campbell's, you know, the hotel, they have the same exact room as they had at $50 a night. It's now $550. How come? They haven't even painted it. It's like, I don't know how they get away with that. Oh, it's that bathtub out back. There's nothing else. There's no Campbell's. It's the only one Campbell's in downtown Lake Chelan. There's only one Wapato Point in Manson, which is becoming the Bel Air of the valley, which is fascinating because when I grew up, it wasn't that. Well, that's the story. When you can start to tell the story with emotion, like you're dating, like I'm going to marry you, I'm going to date you, this is my objective in life. And I'm going to treat it with that level of seriousness. Because I know what is going to be, when you're done in 5 years, I don't want you to be the person that says, God dang it, I wish I would have bought this. I want you to be high-fiving me going, God damn, I'm glad you talked me into it. This is the best decision we ever made. And maybe you can't say this, but you can say, you know, my broker says after 34 years, do you know what the best thing about his job is? How many people thank him for going to a Seattle home show, for putting on a seminar, or taking his call and knowing the inventory and selling him something 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You should ask around. There's a lot of people that wish they would have bought 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, 40 years ago. Guess what the market's always done? Even through COVID. It boomed in COVID, even through the Great Recession of 2008. There's only finite number of pieces of real estate left. And then depending on where you have them, like depending on if you're getting too close and the nerves are getting too high for the people, and I'm like trying to romance you and we're not quite there, I need to backpedal a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I got the vibe that you're close, but if I ask you out on that to the prom date, you know, the prom dance, I'm gonna get a no. So I gotta back up a little bit, lighten the mood with a joke, and then I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna come out just a little different angle. We're going to that prom date. I'm taking you to the prom. That's how it works. I'm like a pit bull in a pork chop. I'm not letting go. So I have to figure out what is the combination to unlock you. Because I know you want to buy it. You just need the facts. And I just need to tell them to you in a way that you will believe it and understand it. And if I'm selling you shit, it won't work. That's why we don't sell shit. You know, I told somebody today that with an attorney, I said, here's the thing. I have a fundamental problem with your client. Do you know what the fundamental problem is? Your client thinks they're smarter than me about real estate. And they've never sold a house here. That's confusing. So if your client doesn't do one of these three things, I would like your client to fire me. Lower the price by $85,000. You go back to court, sell the judge on terms, because it's in probate. Right? Or fix it, clean it up. If it's not one of those three things, I want your client to fire me. Because I'm done wasting my time talking to people that are patients that think they're the doctors. I have other things I can do. And I love pouring resources into people and things that appreciate it. I don't need excuses. I don't need rationalization. I don't need to do anything. I want to do these things, and I only want to do them with people that get it. But if I'm going to argue with your client every fucking time I talk to her, she doesn't talk to me at all, I'm interviewing you too. So it's okay. We don't get to go to the prom every year. You know, see the thing? Like, see how this is really a game. I'm just gamifying a career. I'm gamifying life. And once you start to think about it like that, so, you know, what are some of the other things? It's 6:30. Got a half hour. What's the last half hour? I think it was...
Here, why don't you sit here?
How about this? If it was me, if I was going to sell you something and we've already been through all the units, I'd say, and we're doing reservation agreements still. You know the beautiful thing about a reservation agreement is unilaterally refundable. You know what that means? You can make a phone call, get the $5,000 back. How many $5,000 you got? You have a couple? How about 5? If it was me, I'd put 25 grand in and I'd put 5 of them up there because I want to cover my bases.
Yeah.
Here's the 5 I would do. And here's why. You want to do the 5?
They might settle for 3, but at least it's 3 more than what you got.
Yeah, I mean, it's unilaterally refundable. Why wouldn't you? Let me tell you this. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if it accelerates?
The price?
Yeah.
Okay.
What if I buy it here and it accelerates? I'll flip it. Maybe I do 5. What if I told you you can walk into a casino, you can lay down on the roulette table, by the way, it's 35 to 1 odds on a single number. You know the thing you spin?
Oh, I like roulette.
Okay, cool.
I think she knows.
I do know roulette. That's the one I like.
Oh, she didn't like gambling. Okay, good. So if I told you you could walk into a casino and lay down 5 numbers, and if you won, you got 35 to 1 odds. Hell, what if I said 2 to 1 odds? Let's keep it simpler. What if I said you could bet a color, black or red, which isn't quite 2 to 1, but because you got that 0, 0, around here. But it's like 50-50, 48% chance. And if you lost, I give you your money back. And if you won, you double your money. That's what a reservation agreement is.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
That's first base, getting to the prom date. Because we have a short period of time, that gets you in the game, gives you time to evaluate. I don't want to pressure you. That's why we did this. Gives me time to get you all the information. I know you're on vacation. I don't want to take all your vacation time unless you want me to, because I'm good at it. Hell, I'll stay here till midnight. You want to go get some tiki torches? Let's go. I can play Journey, Ryan Adams.
Yes.
See what I mean? Let's go.
Yeah.
See, my phone even does it for me. Small town girl living in a lonely world. That's jokes.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're seeing, that is a communication style that works. That's all we're trying to find. We're not trying to manipulate. We're not trying to massage. We're not trying to hurt people. Quite the opposite. I'm just trying to help you understand something in a fraction of a second.
And even if you're having a hard time saying what he's saying, like put the 5 reservations down, like, we already have people in place that have put multiple reservations down on units, multiple units, just to make sure that they can get one. And if you just frame it like, we are already helping people that have already done this, and you just say it's this person's doing it, it puts it in their head, oh, I could do that too. That makes sense, I'll do it, without you telling them. So his comfort level, your comfort level, find something that really works for you, but still get the point across.
If one's good, more's better.
Yeah,
Unless you don't have the $5,000. If you don't have $5,000 to just, like, if you're sitting in, you got $1 million in the bank, $100,000 in the bank, and you don't mind putting $25,000 temporarily for a couple weeks, you're not losing that much interest. You know, if you're the guy that's upset about 5% on a month, 2 months, 3 months, okay, well, you're that guy. You're analytically driven, not emotionally driven. So I got to change up my entire tactic.
Well, then they could just buy the one that's actually active right now, so then they don't have to put the 5,000 down, and we can close tomorrow, and you can start making money next week.
What are these worth next year? That's my question. When that landscaping's mature and that pool's redone, what's it worth? We've had a construction site for 45 days that we couldn't show the units. I had that conversation this morning.
I'm glad you had that conversation because I was thinking about that.
What?
Well, just the pressure that you're talking about.
Doesn't matter
and
though.
how can
No pressure, no diamonds. It's not, you can't get offended. I'm just like, I don't make excuses either. I just get better. I'll fight the fight. But I said something like, I have had my legs tied together and one hand tied behind my back, but other than that, I'm going to kick your ass. So I'm okay with it. That was an exact quote to this morning. I'm okay with it. Takeaway close. I'm okay with it.
There was no video. We didn't record it.
Well, it's true. I mean, I don't care. It's not, I can't make
That's what I
excuses. I
walked
took on the
into
job.
this morning.
I know the pressure, and I'm going to win. I'm going to win. You have to believe it.
yeah.
And that means for my family, they're hoping that you guys keep focused. And I want you to win too. I can't do this all. I just literally can't do it all. I've done it like that before. Stuff starts to go sideways in my life. When I go to that level where I don't sleep at all and I'm 20 hours a day and I'm obsessed, and I'm 7 days a week, and my personal life is pretty shrapnel ridden. Like, there's patient people, but they're not that patient. You know what I mean? Like, there's a time where it's like, yeah, dude, you're not 5. Come on now.
Yeah.
You have other responsibilities too. So then we had this talk, right? Like, why do I do what I do? Well, hey, it's fun. It's a lot more fun to be around like-minded people that I can see achieving their goals. To me, that's a love language for me. I really have been taught that since I was a kid. My dad was the most selfless human being I've ever met in my life. So I was very, very lucky. And I just want to honor that trait in him. And that took me a long time to figure out. I could not figure out why I wasn't happy when I had a lot of money. Like, this is supposed to mean happiness. I don't get it. Nobody taught me that. I thought it was a scorecard like a football game. The more zeros you had, the more money you made, the more happy you were, right? Nobody talked about all the other stuff. That over-obsession of certain things leads to unbalanced lives, which leads to problems and temper and, you know, depression and all the stuff that often come with salespeople. So for me, surrounding myself with like-minded people that have each other's backs, if I make less money, so I don't need much. I've also proven to myself I don't need the big car, I don't need the big house, I don't need the big boat. Hell, I never used a big boat anyway. My kids enjoyed it. They didn't deserve it. Or the 2 houses on the lake, or the, you know. I had a house in Steakin for 5 years on the lake. I never went there. Not once. Very strange. But it was part of the scorecard. I thought at the time that's what happiness looked like. So it took me a long time to like, wait a minute. Literally, how do you figure out if this isn't? Like, I was confused because nobody taught me that. My dad worked all the time and he seemed happy. So I was programmed to work all the time. In the meantime, my personal life's in shambles. I'm drinking too much, fighting too much, got a temper, depressed, divorced, kids every other week. The stuff that people go through. Like, it's not unusual story. It's like we all have baggage, we all have shit. So for me, it took a long time to figure this out. That I want to surround myself, but I don't want to surround myself with people that don't also want to give it their best shot. Mm-hmm. I don't think my time, I think my time, I don't have that, I know that I live X number of minutes on the planet. Whatever that number is, it's an X. It's not getting longer. There's more sand at the bottom of the hourglass than the top. I know that. My best friend just proved that to me. 64. Lights out, brother. Okay, well, that sucks. My dad was the other best friend. Lights out. That sucks. He was 86, so that's a little better. But for me, it's like, okay, that's a blink. I got here in a blink. So I don't want to spend my time like trying to explain things over and over and over and over and expecting a different outcome. That people just don't get it. I'd rather have a smaller fleet of pure assassins. And what I mean by that is like that at least have some decent like work ethic, that will step up, that will go the extra effort, that want to learn, that want to be abundant thinkers and not a scarcity mindset, which is full of suffering, but abundance is full of beauty. Mm-hmm. Just the basics. But that's hard to find, man. That is so hard to find right now for all the reasons, whatever they may be. And that's also the tremendous opportunity that we have. We can really, really get our unfair share of the world. But it starts like nights like tonight.